Hello everyone and welcome back to Age of Nagash, which is of course a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. And in this video, oh boy, have we got so much to talk about, honestly to the point where hopefully we'll be able to cover it all, but we'll see how we get on. But I am delighted to be joined by, again, Luke and Alex from the Discord. Two more talks of the Discord, I will add. How are you guys doing today, sirs?
Yeah.
We've nearly got a court on Nagash going here.
We literally have. It's like, and I said, like, Alex can be called Cash Cross, and the one response I got was, good, I have a excuse to be a complete arrogant prick. And I was like, yes. I mean, I won't deny it. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is basically Games Workshop said, don't worry, you don't need to buy the core rulebook. We'll give it to you for free. Still not really too sure on how that works, but okay, you are going to miss out on the narrative stuff, which is something I wanted to focus on, so I might still have to buy the book and justify getting the box for that reason. So we're going to cover the core rules. As you can see, we have actually got the prices up on the screen as well. So this is just, you know, the norm now that we've seen, that just like the prices being leaked. So we'll go over that, and we'll go over that at the start as well, just so we can cover it. And then, like I said, we've got all those core rules. Just to say that I did mention that we'll cover Gloomspite Git stuff, but again, I haven't read through any of this yet, so, you know, full, complete, honest reaction you'll get from me, but Alex and Luke have, and have told me that the Gits article, there's nothing really new from it. In fact, they've actually got the information wrong, so there's no point going over that and end up being like Russia Today as a information base. So with that, let us know what you think when we read through this, of course. If you do enjoy the content, make sure you smash the like button, and if you smash the, you know, the subscribe button, I'll, you know, I don't know, I'll love you forever or whatever. Love is pretty cheap these days. But we have got JR saying, evening all. So evening, JR. Hope you're doing well. Let us know your thoughts when we go through all. And what I'd also say is, everyone, let me know where you guys are watching this from, because it's actually generally really interesting to hear that, and it just makes me realize how boring it is where we live. And then we've got Henry saying, evening, mate. Hope you're doing well. Right, so the first thing we're going to go over is going to be the prices. So anyone who's already watching this, you can see it on your screens. And the first thing we're going to talk about is Auric Flesh. So, guys, we're pushed for time. There's so much to go through. What are your thoughts on Auric Flesh?
Oh God, it's going to be a very long night.
Right. So they're £2.75 each. Obviously, the store gets a pack of 6 of them. Approximately, they get them at 50% discount. So, what do you reckon price the store is paying?
I can't do maths.
Right, yeah, so the next thing we've got some new paints coming out. Usual price, they might be 1p more than the last Games Workshop prices to slowly increase them, I don't know. But the next one we have got is going to be the combat gauge. So Games Workshop made the combat gauge at about £15, something like that, £20 before, and then they reduced it to £5 because they brought out a plastic one because they thought no one's going to spend that much on a bit of metal. I bought it. And then they decided, you know what, I reckon we can charge £15 for a bit of metal these days. You know, we do it with the old models, the Lord of the Rings models, so why not with this? So the combat gauge is £15. Don't buy their one, buy one from a third party. I think, like just to name a few, like I buy some of my stuff from Darksphere. Elemental Games probably do it as well. I mean, not sponsored by any of them, but you can buy plastic 3D printed ones for like £2 to a £5. So honestly, don't buy their one. The next thing we've got is the Gersh Expanse, which is the table, like the board you can get. I can't remember how big it is. Is it? I'm thinking of it's like the new measurements.
It's 2 Warcry boards. It's the one that you can use for the 750 to 1,000 point game size. And it basically, if you want to do 2,000 point games, you need to buy it twice.
Okay, it's £30. I would suggest buy a gamer mat because they're probably cheaper as well, and they're probably they just feel better. Quite a nice draw your dice on, that sort of thing. And then the next thing we've got is the Realmscape objective set. Unless you're playing narrative, I would suggest don't buy this. I've made my own objective markers before, and unless the rules have changed, it very much goes along as, oh, that's cool, you made your own. Like, I don't know, I've got like a flayed man as mine. Like a skinned, like Savage Orc, all that sort of things, themed around all my death stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then you go to like a competitive tournament, all that sort of thing. So, oh, that's really cool, that design, yeah. Well, we're just going to use the token, though, because that's more accurate. And then you never see your objectives on the table. Most of these objectives, or at least half of them, don't have a nice singular point in the middle. For objectives, I would, for example, what I bought, I haven't really been actually using yet, it's the Honest Wargamer ones where they have like the nice circles as long as objectives are the same distances as they were in second edition, because I'll be annoyed if they're not. And then the next one we've got is the Age of Sigmar core rulebook, £40. Bear in mind, you get pretty much all the rules for it in what we're going to go over today. £40 seems pretty steep. However, if you want an excuse to get that Dominion box set, if you can, it's a perfect excuse because the next one we're going to go over is Dominion, which is £125. So kind of for 3 times the price of the book, you can get the whole set. So, you know, if you want an excuse to buy the whole set, there you go. £125 isn't bad. I thought it was going to be anywhere between like 120 to 140. So it's the lower end of what I thought it would be. So what are our guys' thoughts on that one? Because that is a big one.
I was calling 125 from the start. I thought they were going to release it same cost as in Donovan. What that is. So yeah, I think bang on what it should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's what, 2,300 points of models? 2,200 points of models?
You're paying £45 per army.
And each half is over 1,000 points of models. Like, it's a bargain. There's no, it's like, if you have any interest in either of the armies, just get it.
Yeah, exactly. And you won't be able to buy these models separately straight away anyway, as well. Yeah. So yeah, definitely you know, as much as Games Workshop prices go, you know, these boxes tend to be a bargain with that. And then we've got the Age of Sigmar Path to Glory Diary. So I know this isn't going to be for everyone, but as I want to definitely specialize in narrative play going forward, my own games, it will be something I'll look at as long as it's not just basically loads of blank pages with lines in them. It would be something I would get because it's 20 quid. Kind of makes me worry it is just going to be line pages. But if it was £30, that'd be far too much, I think. And then you got the General's Handbook, which is £25, which is the first one was £15, I believe, and then gradually but surely gone up. Okay, so that is that. I'm just going to check everyone in the chat.
I would just say while we're on it, with us getting day one GHB, that means we're getting day one points changes across the game. Yeah. And probably day one FAQs. Like, it would make sense that we get all of that on the same day, which is really, really good.
It's going to be a busy day.
It was kind of expected after they did it with 40k, but still good to hear rather than us having to wait for the game to be playable.
And the other thing I'll say is there's been a lot of things coming out from a lot of stores that they've heard there's going to be a bit of a shortage on those paints off the get-go.
Okay.
So if you are after those paints, might be waiting a bit because apparently there's a shortage of them.
Biggest advice I can give a painting: if you can, spray it white, use contrast. With pretty much, it's not even like out of a pride thing going, oh, I see myself as too much caring about the skill to do that. No, you can get great effects with contrast, and it just saves so much time.
Also, just use Vallejo.
Yeah, I mean, you told me to use that, didn't you? So I'm stubborn in my ways, not going. Games Workshop sell the best paints. I'm just like I've bought the Games Workshop ever since I was a child, and I'm still too lazy to change. Definitely, it sounds like Vallejo is good. So let's see what we've got in the chat. So we've got Raceland saying, hello, mate. Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for joining us. Shane is saying £125 is better than I thought. Yeah, it's like the lower end of what I thought as well, like I said. So that's all good. JR is saying, got Dominion pre-ordered 10 minutes from Warhammer World Nottingham.
You saying you've already got it pre-ordered?
Or you live 10 minutes away from Warhammer World and you're going to get there on time to pre-order it. I think that's what that is. And then we've got Henry saying, I'm from Oregon, west coast of America. It's 12:30. That's very cool. You've got the rest of the 14th of June in front of you. It's quite a good day. Like, don't have your expectations too high, but it's not too bad by the end of it, is what I would say. Poet has been an absolute chat and has sent 99 cents towards the channel. So thank you very much for that, Poet. It really means a lot every time you do. Thank you for being so kind. And then we got Raceland saying that Auric Flesh, £2.75. £1 maybe I will try and a steak. Yeah, okay, I get you. And then we've got David saying that I live in Sweden and we have a single Games Workshop store in the whole country. UK prices though. Yeah, that's I think I've got my closest one is about a 5-minute drive, then after that about a 30-minute drive, and then after that about a 40-minute drive, and then after that about a 50-minute drive, and then I go into another county. So yeah, we're very lucky here with that one. And then we've got Stefan saying hi, watching from the Shetland Isles. That's pretty cool. Was going to get the Dominion box for the models alone, but I'm now thinking to start playing AOS. Yes, like definitely, like don't just buy them to collect and paint. Buy them to play the game. It's a fantastic game. I really enjoy it. So, and I've done loads of videos on how to play Sigmar, which I'm definitely going to have to update, which annoys me. But go check them out because they are relevant for the next week. So there's that, and then there is Michael saying that just joined from East Coast USA. Got my pre-order paid for today. That is, I'm sure these people aren't saying they've pre-ordered. They just mean they've acquired the money through non-criminal activity to get the box set.
Well, I think that independents that have their own allocation don't they already know their allocation. So if you know the guy well, then you can just pre-order through them already. Pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, you are playing a dangerous game though, because I've known ones where they're like, "Oh, this is our allocation," and then they've had 2 turn up. So
yeah. I mean, I think how I'm going to play Dominion is I'm going to try and get it on a third-party site for cheap, and then I'll just roll the dice, and I might get it, I might not. Even if I pre-order it, give them the money, they might send me an email like a few days later. Sorry, we couldn't acquire it, but don't you worry, here's your money back, which would be sad, but probably sensible option for my.
I just sold my Flesh Eater Courts army.
There you go.
This morning, I sent it off, and the guy sent me the money, and I'm like, I could, but I have other things that need to.
I have real lab stuff.
You timed that well with their 3.0 nerfs, didn't you?
I don't know what you mean. He might be listening. Sold high.
Exactly. Steve saying evening Steve, hope you're doing well. We've got AT saying evening mate, hope you're doing well. Michael saying that paid at my local store is secured, so that is good to hear. Poet is saying my local store knows what they're getting and have open orders. That is good. And then AT is saying, I'm happy surprised by the price of the box, was expecting more. We can all be happy in Games Workshop's endless bounds of generosity, as always. Which is cool. But to be honest, what happens if they don't sell out for a week? They generally made 10.
Then I'm gonna succumb and order a copy.
Yes.
That's what's gonna happen. Is that I'm relying on the fact that they're gonna sell out.
It's like if I buy, I'm like, the idea to keep one of the forces, and it's like, well, what are you going to do with the other force? And you're sort of the other part of you is just saying, why not have both? And then buy all the expansions, and then never build or paint them. So yes, there we go. Okay, so that was the prices. I wanted to get that done first. I know people are probably quite interested in that before we go into the long haul of what we're going to talk about, which is going to be the fantastic rule set for Warhammer Age of Sigmar 3rd edition, which is the best edition yet. I think we can all confirm. So I'm going to, you'll see our faces really close up while I desperately try and get this up as soon as possible. So we have it literally, if you go onto the Warhammer community website, you'll be able to download all the rules for free, like all 44 pages of them. I think it just doesn't include narrative stuff, basically, from what I've heard.
It hasn't got all the nice fluff and pictures at the beginning,
which is nice, right? But I can't remember last time. There's been very little of that core rulebook from 2nd edition I've actually read.
The other thing you've got to consider, the full book is 360 pages long. The core rules is 44 pages long.
Mad.
It's just okay.
Do you reckon if I called up Games Workshop and I asked, if I order from you guys, can I specifically ask, when you go to a restaurant, you ask can you not put cheese on the burger or something? Can I specifically ask for you to remove the core rulebook from my Dominion box set and put in the General's Handbook? That would be a really nice pairing.
You know what? That would be a wonderful. Can you imagine if they did that as a release package deal?
It would be great, but it still sounds like Games Workshop wants to make money. So the player's code. Now, this is something that is so important that you should already know it and know. Basically, don't be a dick. That's pretty much it. Also, so I noticed, though, this is the one thing I have read through. Don't be disappointed when you roll bad dice, and don't be annoyed when your opponent rolls good dice, or otherwise your opponent wins by default and you're never allowed to play Warhammer ever again. You get taken away, sent to the gulag, and you're not allowed to see your family.
Yeah, I think I might have to. I think I might have to quit playing.
Yeah, my last game, I had somebody with Scuttle Tide roll 10 out of 12 5-ups to do 10 mortal wounds to me. I was fuming. Scuttle Tide just did me in. I lost the game.
I've got to say, Mikey, as well. One of the other rules it says is don't use any language that might offend your opponent. I went, well, that's you stop playing.
That's like it's a very, if you pardon the pun, dicey situation in game.
It is, yeah.
How I talk, it's fine. It's like it's well targeted as long as dark humor is accepted. I'm just gonna before we quickly go into it, I'm just gonna read a couple of things on the chat. So we've got Poet saying that I think people are worried nothing on Dominion. You can still get Soul Wars and find first edition 2 players box set. So I think the Dominion box is the edition box for third. Like we thought that, but they said that they're not making any more. Like this is all they've got. They've got one run, and that's
it's like Indomitus. Like there was just the thing is that £125 for that, they're not really making much money. It's like a gateway in for people. Like,
that's exactly.
So like it's not a business model that they can sustain.
Yeah, it's like the separate boxes they may bring out, like they do with Indomitus, with like the smaller sections, like they've done with Soul Wars and stuff as well. That is, they'll make more money doing. They won't make loads of money doing that, but they'll make more money doing that than selling this box forever.
Yeah.
And then we've got Raceland saying that I will try and buy one, but Picard, stay strong. So stay strong.
It'll be fine. They'll sell out. I know they'll sell out. I'll be fine.
Exactly. And then we've got Neil saying turn up on time. Mikey, so we've been through this. If it's about this video today, start a little bit late. I believe I put about 8:10, which always gives you leeway of about half an hour. Had to eat a whole bag. We talked about this whole bag of a salad, which was what was that fruit I mentioned? Vegetable. Beetroot salad. I literally thought I bit my tongue of how red my mouth was. My teeth were awful. Like the gums never ended. So unless you guys wanted to see that, that is why
Very vampire.
Fun.
Very vampire.
Very vampire.
On a Soul Blight night.
But Neil is a guy who I play locally, and he's. I remember we used to go running together. I remember I turned up late, and I just said I'm running late. He didn't find the pun funny. So the next thing is Poet saying, "Oh, extra sad face." I can't remember what that's relevant to. We meant the player's code.
Yeah, it does say turn up on time. It's like one of the first rules.
Late is fashionable. At the end of the day, there we go. It's probably because I say I can get to my store in 5 minutes, and realistically, you're looking at like a 10-15 minute job. So anyway, going on with the core rules. So as I've read through this, and there's 44 pages, I'm relying on Alex and Picard, Luke to tell me what we actually need to read through. So the first page where we have the core concept. Do we need to study this? Is this
I mean, it depends. Are we believing that all our viewers are brand new to Age of Sigmar, or where are we going with this? Because if we are, then yes. But basically, to summarize, you use models on a table. You need to be able to measure. The table needs to be flat, which means no more hill scenery.
I'll be like an airline working on a plane, just like to try and demonstrate, flat table. Right. So, basically, you play on a table, a floor, whatever, with your models, with your rocks. You use dice, you use a tape measure, you use a whippy stick. That's pretty much it. If people want me to break it down more, I have already done that in a How to Play Age of Sigmar video, just because it's not second edition. It literally is the same. The same thing. So, okay. So,
words and everything works.
Yeah. So.
And how coherency works.
So, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what has changed and what we haven't already gone over. That's how we're going to do it. So keywords, we know how keywords work. That hasn't changed. Unit coherency, we talked about that. That made enough conversation, so everyone should be aware of what that is. If you're not, just look at it yourself. Armies, so that's probably quite self-explanatory. the endless spells, invocations, we've covered that. Your general, that's the same, I think, that we've covered before. Again, like I said, I want to focus on the new stuff, guys, because we haven't got enough time to go through every single bit. So that's why I want to prioritize. Measuring distances, dice. There's a whole paragraph on dice. Rolling off, rerolls, dice roll modifiers, abilities and effects.
So this stuff's got some stuff that is worth talking about. So you've got what have we got? Simultaneous effects. So if basically it says, so in AOS 2, if two things happen at the same time, then the person who's... So let's say you both have stuff that happens at the start of the combat phase.
Mm-hmm.
If two things happen at the same time, then it's the person whose turn it is, gets to do it first. In this instance, you roll off, which is a bit weird.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So
simultaneous effects. And then we've also got triggered effects. This is actually a really big change.
Okay, yeah, we'll cover that as well. So triggered effects. So the nice new thing about this, though, is you guys pointed out already, is that you can go triggered effects, and then someone can scoff and go, "Do you mean 1.6.4?" Get the lingo with all the points, and obviously they've got examples written on the side here. That's nice to break down, just to point out as well. So triggered effects. So did you want to talk us through that one, Alex?
Yeah, so basically what it says is that if a specific dice roll triggers two different effects, so for example, a hit roll of a 6 triggers two different effects, then the player who made the roll must pick which effect is applied. So basically what this means is, for example, if I went into, there is a specific Nurgle sub-allegiance where 6 is to hit, kick a mortal wound back. And then, so let's say, for example, I went in with my Slaanesh, who get exploding 6s. I would get to choose which of those two effects would be applied. And I'm obviously going to choose my exploding 6s over the mortal wound bounce. What this is aimed at doing is that sometimes, so I think, for example, in Gristlegore, you can get your Terrorgeists to do mortal wounds on 6s when they bite, and the 6 explodes. So this now stops that. You can only have one or the other. People are confusing this with, say, Archaon, who makes you reroll 6s, saying that, Archaon's reroll is no longer effective, but rerolls happen before the triggered effects. Yeah, but no, Archaon's reroll happens before the triggered effects. So Archaon's ability is still works.
It's still valid.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so yeah, this basically, because I've not really come across something like this before. So with the Nurgle one, it's if I roll a 6 attacking you, I'd get a mortal wound back. Was that the
yes?
So
okay, 6 is to hit now.
Because I thought it was if it was 2 or more of your own things triggered, but it doesn't specify who's triggering. It's just any effects, isn't it?
Exactly. So it limits both. If you have 2 effects on a 6, then you have to choose one. But also, if there's opposing effects, then you still get to choose one.
And you'll never choose your opponent's one. No. That's just never going to happen.
Exactly.
Which it's fair enough. I think it would have been possibly slightly nicer if it was 2 of your own effects.
Yeah.
I think that would have been worded slightly better because it's flavor, it's fun. It's removing something that you've got to take under consideration. So is that I realize it's probably a rare example with the Nurgle one, but it was something fun.
Yeah, and there's I'm trying to think of that Bone Reaper spell where your opponent, I think they treat hit rolls of 6 and save rolls of 6 as 1s. So it's something like that, or you have to re-roll it. I'm just wondering if your opponent will, if they have something, if they can do, they have a unit that does mortal wounds and 6s to hit, but you have to treat it as a 1. So I'm wondering if your opponent can go, I'm not going to treat this as a 1, I'm actually going to choose my mortal wound. In case that's if that works.
That might be one of those things that might get FAQ'd at the beginning.
Very obscure examples and stuff. So shooting or fighting more than once, has this changed at all?
So I haven't actually read this rule until now, and I don't understand it. So
Okay, so I'll read it and let's give it a go. Let us know in the chat what you think as well. So shooting or fighting more than once. The effects of some abilities allow units to shoot, see. Okay, I'm not even going to do that because that's going to confuse me. Or fight more than once in the same phase. However, the effect of an ability cannot allow a unit to shoot or fight more than twice in the same phase. This is an exception to the principle that the effects of abilities take precedence over core rules.
So they've got rid of your ability to fight twice?
No. So they've got rid of your ability to fight 3 times, which is something that like Core Archaon had.
There was like very few examples where I think even like the Varangard had a way, if there was like enough things stacked to them, there was a way that maybe they could fight if they died in a certain turn.
Oh, well, yeah, no, because they could fight once, they could do their once per game fight twice, and then there was the Chaos Lord's command ability.
That didn't stack because that was only if they hadn't fought already. But Archaon's ability that allowed a unit to fight if it died.
Yeah, and there's also in Khorne, there's I know Khorne Archaon could fight like 4 times.
Wow.
Okay, so I see. So you cannot fight more than twice in the same phase. I've got it. It's that key more than twice. That's the key wording there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. No, I'm with that now.
Oh, that's cool.
That works. So the next thing we've got is the battlefield, which I'm pretty sure hasn't changed.
Don't think so.
So the next thing we've got is deployment, which I'm pretty sure
hasn't changed. And reserve with summon units hasn't changed either, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, that's fine. On to the next thing, battle rounds. Going to take a punt. There's still 5 battle rounds.
6.
Oh, okay. I will read this then. So a battle fought in a series of battle rounds. So a battle is fought in a series of battle rounds. At the start of the battle round, the player make a priority roll, and then each player takes 1 turn. Each turn is split into 6 phases. Once in the second turn has finished, it is the end of the battle round, and then a new one begins. Is there 6 or is there just 5?
No,
there was always 6.
Yeah, six phases. So that's fine. I hope there's not 6 bloody battle rounds. There's nothing fun.
No, it's 5 rounds, 6 phases of round.
Then again, there's sometimes when you're playing and you wish there was a 6th one, isn't there? Because you think like the opponent really fucking tapped at it. Right. Okay. So the priority roll. That's the starting command point bit.
Yeah. So weirdly, the priority roll there isn't the same as what the match play priority roll is. So basically, there it's like whoever wins the roll off goes first. But when you go to the match play section of the core rules, it's as AOS 2 is where the person who finishes deploying. So that's been confusing quite a few people. So if you check basically if you're doing narrative, then that rule 4.1. Otherwise, read the match play section, which is exactly the same as AOS 2.
Thank you for pointing that out. It'd be nice if they just made it the same for both systems. I'm not gonna lie. If you play an open play, you can literally go like, we'll look out the window. The first bird we see is a magpie. You get to go first. Second bird, there's a raven. You get right. So, command points using command. I mean, this has changed, but I'm pretty sure we've covered all this.
Yeah, basically, whoever goes first gets a command point. Whoever goes second gets 2. If your general's alive, you get an additional command point. And all command points are gone at the end of your turn.
Yeah, so we hadn't actually had confirmation on that to that point. So just like with Relentless Discipline points in OBR, any CP you don't spend at the end of the battle round, it resets. Also, there had been conversation by people that, so like for example in Soulblight, you can potentially have like 4 generals on the battle because the named heroes get the become the general in like a certain sub-allegiance. It's just 1 if your general is alive, so all they do is add redundancy.
Yeah, cool.
So if one of your general alive, you still get that. But other than that, I think it's all stuff we'd seen in other community articles.
It goes on to be about how your distances of issuing commands.
Oh, actually, so the last paragraph is worth reading. So a model cannot issue more than 1 command in the same phase, and a unit cannot receive more than 1 command in the same phase. In addition, you cannot use the same command ability more than once in the same phase. So we certainly knew the last 2 bits. I didn't actually know that a model cannot issue more than one command in the same phase, which is interesting. But yeah, basically it just it limits what you can do with your CP, and it means you can't spam.
Although we still need to have it confirmed. We still need to have it confirmed what it means on some of them, where it talks about you haven't issued the command. Because there was something I can't remember what it was.
Battalion? Was it?
I think it was in the battalion.
Yeah, battalion where you can use all out defense on a unit. It doesn't mention.
Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't use a command point, and it treats it as though it's not been issued.
No, but it's still a command ability. It says you use this command ability without spending a command point, so it's still an ability which fits in with that.
Then what's the whole thing about it not being issued? Because then that to me would make it suggest that you can use it again somehow.
Oh, I'm not sure on that. I don't know which one it says it's not issued.
I think there'll be an FAQ as well, because there'll be the Ossiarch Bone Reapers is kind of like, can we use all our defense and all our attack? No. Oh, so half the battalions in the core book aren't for us then. So there'll be FAQs on this, or there won't be, which will be even more fun, because Games Workshop never missed an FAQ once, especially around winter time. So the next thing I'm just going to read through the chat. There's been a few messages and stuff before we go to the next thing. So Henry is saying, some people come for the Airwest news. I do it for Mikey's lore and backstory. I presume that means about the many great tales of my life, and not about Age of Sigmar. But very glad to hear that you enjoy that. Thank you, Henry. AT is saying sometimes the italic text on the side have important rules that are not mentioned in the main text, so be aware. E.g., you can't run when you can retreat. Yeah, cool. That's it. Generally, is useful. They did a similar thing, 40k, I think, in that book. And then Leon is saying Gotrek in Barak. I mean, the first one.
I imagine that's something to do with the multiple attacks. Yeah, okay. Like fighting 3 times. I think that came up around then.
Cool. Dwarves is a massive blind spot for me, basically, unless it's like dispossessed. Henry is saying, well, you can read. Some people aren't so lucky. Not really too sure what it's reference to. Anyone has the new Battlefield Dimensions for AOS? And then that has been answered. Hendo is saying that evening all. Sorry, I'm late. You already are. Your excuse being late, it's fine. As we mentioned earlier from Neil, lateness is actually fashionable. Right, okay, so the next thing to go over is the hero phase. We've been over heroic actions.
Yep.
So I think this is pretty much covered. Actually,
I think you get more command. So again, because I haven't read all this, I think you get more command points than we first thought. Because the second part of this sentence, which is at the start of the hero phase, starting with the player whose turn it is, each player can pick one hero to perform a heroic action, and each player receives 1 command point if your general is on the battlefield. So basically, you get every turn. So basically, you get. Oh yeah, no, because it was just 2 and 3.
Yeah.
No.
You
get 3 and 4, isn't it?
Well,
yeah, it'll be 3 and 4.
It's going to be 3 and 4 because the general consensus was that you would get 1 if you go first, 2 if you go second, and then 1 if your general was on the battlefield. But it's looking like over the course of a battle round, you get 2 if your general was on the battlefield.
Yeah, because it's every hero phase.
So actually, you get 3 command points as long as your general is alive if you go first, and 4 if you go second.
Plus, if you go heroic leadership,
absolutely,
and all other things, but yeah.
So that's
It'll be interesting to see if you can still pay for additional command points.
I don't think you will.
No, I don't think you need to. Because you'll pay for it and go, right, you're using it this battle round, otherwise it's gone. So I think that's good that you can't stack them. Otherwise, there'll probably be some army that massively benefits from the 5th battle round. Right, I've got 20 of these. What am I using them for? Right, we've got the hero phase command ability, so we've got rally.
Also, one other thing in that bit of text, which they touch on later, but you can now attempt to dispel endless spells at the start of both hero phases.
Yeah.
So it's not just at the start of your hero phase, it's now you can also do it at the start of your opponent's, which is pretty big.
That's cool.
But of course, it would remove one of your unbinds.
Yeah.
And you can use heroic willpower as well, can't you? In either hero phase.
Yeah, and again, that's start of hero phase, so you can do that and then attempt to dispel with heroic willpower.
Yeah, that's cool. And we've gone over heroic willpower as we have the monstrous rampages, so we won't be going through those again. Rally we've already gone through, but that is at this. You can use it at the start of the hero phase. That's just something to bear in mind. It's where you can bring models back to a unit on a 6, basically. Movement.
Fulminators.
Fulminators, Mornfang. Lots of cool ones. Zombies, so lots of good ones out there. And then we've got the movement phase, which has this changed?
Yes,
quite
massively, actually.
Right, so I'll read it from the top.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it needs, because the actual individual bits haven't necessarily changed.
Yeah,
but basically, retreats and runs used to be part of a normal move. So like you made a normal move, and while you did the normal move, you might trigger a retreat or you might choose to run.
Yep.
Now they are 3 separate things. So what that means is that if a rule says that you can do a normal move, so for example, Blood Knights, then they make it's a normal move and not a retreat on their rule. Also, as it stands now, which needs things like needs an FAQ, anything which, it's more battalions, but if you could make like a normal, so it used to be if you could make a normal move in your hero phase, you could retreat. Now you can't do that. But yeah, basically the big thing is Blood Knights can now retreat in charge. We're going to be able to in 3.0. Also, as whoever in the chat mentioned, which I hadn't noticed, was really cool, you can't run when you retreat. Because that was always a no-brainer. You were like, oh, well, I'm not going to charge again this turn, so I'm always going to run when I retreat. So now, your 4-inch moving dwarves are going to be proper stuck in combat.
And the big thing about at the double is you have to basically automatically making your run roll a 6. You can't now mess up your roll and decide you're going to do it. You have to do it before you roll. It has to be a decision.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good. I think it makes it more easier to understand as well.
Definitely. There's a lot of ambiguity before, and now it's really clear that they're 3 separate things.
I think that's a good way to describe 3.0. I think it's 2nd edition with everything that everyone just generically agreed upon finally written down.
Yeah.
I think that's realistically what it is there was a lot of things that everyone just did out of sort of respect and understanding, if that's what it meant. Now it's written in black and white with numbers that you can go look it up in the book.
Cool. And
that's the summary of 3rd edition right now.
Yeah, I agreed. So far from what I've seen. And you've got at the double, which has changed. Where before you used to be able to roll a dice for your run roll and go, I'm going to maybe up the double these guys to make it a 6, but I'm going to see what I'm going to roll anyway, and just in case. Now you have to declare before you roll. So, which is it does make a change.
I think it's better.
But you're going to have so many command points that like.
But you've got more ways to spend them, haven't you?
Yeah, that's true.
I honestly, I'm thinking that Thunderbellies, smaller table board edge, automatic run, all the command points. We're going to be charging up that side all day long and hitting you. It's going to be brilliant.
My direwolves will be ready in their 2-rank formation.
Also, for anybody sleeping on redeploy, I think it's probably going to be more impactful than Give Them Hell. Like, it's a really ability. So good.
It kind of reminds me of obviously it's different, but like I can kind of try and do my impression of a skink a little bit, where it's like, you want to charge, like you can't be any like closer to me because obviously that's 3 inches. You've done everything you can. I'm going to move over here and make your charge roll basically take one of your dice away because effectively I'm moving an extra d6. I think that's really, really good. Out of all the new command moves we've seen.
My quick question is, what happens if you roll low and you do not finish your move further than 3 inches?
No, so basically this happens at the end of the movement phase, I want to say.
Which means they can't be within 3. Okay.
Exactly. So basically the whole deal is that
what's that, redeploy?
Redeploy. So
I think it's you pick an enemy unit, and once it's finished its move, then you can do redeploy. So if the enemy wants to double charge you, wait until they pick their second unit to move, and then you do redeploy, rather than just redeploying off the
You're
first.
just trying to make it harder for people to.
But it's even like if you've not quite got the movement to screen off an objective properly, being able to actually move up into their face and be like, right now you're never getting on this objective. Like that's really strong. No, there's all sorts. Or you've got that like kind of cheap screen, and you've put your big scary monster more than 3 inches behind that screen, and now you're like, oh no, I'm going to move my big monster just behind my screen. Now, if you charge them, you're going to get eaten by that monster. But there's so much with it. It's going to be so much fun. Also, Corn Demon Prince. I'm sorry, like I just have to do it. Halving charges and then running away as well. It's just like,
and his command base is great because it's just enemy units within 18 of him. So it's not even like wholly within 18 or like it's great. And then
he is so good.
I've just realised if you use Alvar the Ancient with one of the ogre ones, you can move yourself behind a screen. You charge, you finished within. You've charged, you finished within an inch of him. You're now fighting last.
Yeah.
Because he's not charged. Yeah. No, there's going to be so much play with that, isn't
That's my point, is like you can really catch your opponent out with redeploy. I feel like Give Them Hell is kind of like, it's going to become quite telegraphed, whereas redeploy, like even used in conjunction with Give Them Hell, whatever it is, Unleash Hell, whatever it is, because you could be like 11 inches in front of your shooting units, so your opponent can be like, oh, they're not going to be able to charge phase shoot me, and then you just drop them back, and now they're in range.
Do we know how? I know this is jumping ahead to later, but with the like Unleash Hell, do we know how that's working with something like Sisters of the Watch or Handgunners?
So all of those abilities, there can't be,
because it says you can't do it more than twice.
I know some guys that looked at, I know some guys that looked into it, and they say it doesn't work. I haven't looked into it properly, so don't hold me to that. But a couple of guys on Discord have said, yeah, we really looked into it, and no.
I mean, like, it would be a tad ridiculous to have handgunners firing at your face twice when you charge.
Yeah, that would be all right. I mean, I charged 3 Baron Guard to 10 handgunners, and by the end of it, I had 1 left, and he didn't kill any handgunners, or maybe killed 1.
It was ridiculous.
Awful stuff. And the Baron Guard was like ridiculously good, but he should have been. So just going to catch up on the chat. I want to do a little special announcement because we have got a lovely chap called Nathan, who has decided to become a YouTube member. So he clicked the join button and became a Asian Nagash member. So thank you so much for doing that, Nathan. Really, really kind of you. I'll try and remember to give you an extra shout out at the end of this video as well. If anyone would like to do that as well, you can click the join button or a link to the Patreon down below. So thank you very kindly for that, Nathan. What an absolute legend. We've got Michael saying that the Expert Slayer and Swift battalion abilities state once per battle, 1 unit from this battalion can receive the insert relevant command ability that's been a command point. I wonder if you can stop OBR from issuing commands with that ability.
Sorry,
going
back to that one before, because he does say insert relevant command ability without issuing a command or using a point.
Yeah. So I think that gets around it. Yeah.
I think that gets around the not being able to use it more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, don't think it would, as battalion abilities are not issued and don't cost command points. Yeah. So, which is obviously we talked to the whole other question. So, Rayson is saying that movement makes Blood Knights work. Damn right it does. Gotta love the Blood Knights.
I mean, they were. I was just say they were quite good for 195 points already. Like they were fairly pointed. Now, oh baby, like they are going to be really, really good.
And if you want to hear more about
time for the Red Duke, Red Duke is having his time.
And if you want to hear more about Blood Knights, check into the video that me and Alex has got coming up tomorrow, which is all about why play Soulblight Gravelords. It's definitely coming out tomorrow. It's not being delayed anymore. So definitely go check that out because we've said very high things about Blood Knights, and they've only got better here, which is nice because of their big bases and not a lot of range or coherency. And then Nathan saying, hey, just realized you were streaming. So hello. Thank you very much, Nathan. And thank you for becoming that member. Absolute champion on that one. And right, okay. So now on to me. I feel like we've been moving for bloody ages. Like Age of Sigmar used to be 4 pages. It was fine. No one really understood how it worked, but it was, we didn't need points. It was great back then. But movement. So
nothing much has changed here. It's just saying
Nope.
you got to move. Well, you don't have to move. You need after you finish moving, make sure you're in unit coherency, and you can choose for a unit to remain stationary. And that's only important because it's got the keyword stationary, which will come into effect for like some things where you get a bonus for your shooting if you remain stationary or something like that.
Exactly. And if you need more, that this picture here, Stormcast guy here, he moves 5, so he's there. He's looked where he's going to move, and he's moved. So that is movement.
And it's pointing out the fact that you measure from the front to the front, not from the back, which is.
And that's for each model in a unit as well, which comes into more of it later. And then you've also got things like flying and stuff. So like this Stormcast here, he can't fly. So if he wants to move over this, he is going to have to measure up in inches. And then if he wants to come back down again, he's probably going to have to wait until next turn maybe, or run or something like that. I presume none of that has changed. Like that's I don't think they ever really laid it out in a diagram before. And then flying units could obviously just laugh. And I thought she only moved 5 inches for a second. God, that would be awful, wouldn't it?
She's really good.
Yeah.
Is her rules out yet?
Yeah. All of the rules for the Dominion stuff is out in leaks.
That's good.
I'm bitterly still using the Celestial Prime because I'm currently painting him, but I know that she would be better in my Living City list, and I'm sad.
Celestial Prime is I shouldn't. They're not going to make him redundant. So going on to, I just want to say that Michael in the chat is saying that Blood Knights will be third edition's version of Eels, apart from they can't fly, which is their and bigger bases, but they'll be good. Yeah,
and not fighting at the start of the combat phase, and not running and charging, and not getting +6 to charge.
So
but other than that, yeah.
They're very cool.
Of third edition.
No, Blood Knights are really good. Just they're not going to be as oppressive as Morts are.
One of the big things about Morts is just like how small their bases are. Like just like technical things, not even rule.
Mikey, good news. My source tells me that Morts Guard are going up by 25 points.
Thank you. I will take that. So there's a local player of mine who won't be happy, but he thinks maybe that they're too expensive as it is. They're not too bloody expensive. They're really good. If you're running bloody 21 of them or whatever in a list, there's a reason why you're doing that. So and then Ishland, I've heard that they're going up about 70. So all.
So I think we can all agree that Eels will be the Eels of third edition.
Yeah, it was really good. Like they're really good. Let's not talk about Eels forever. So right, the next thing is shooting phase. So are we all aware about the changes that we've got in the shooting phase? Do we need to go over them? Is there anything that we feel like we need to educate ourselves with?
I think the main thing is 10.1.1, which is when shooting near enemies. If an enemy unit is within 3, you can only target that unit.
That's the same as
always.
What was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, if they're in combat,
probably will be anyway.
So it's how you could try and shut down Mortec crawlers and stuff because it had to shoot you, and if no part of you was more than 3 inches away, sort of thing.
No, but the only thing worth noting is Lookout Sir is now for heroes that have a wound characteristic of 9 or less. So
how's your Blood Rat Shrine doing?
Yeah, Blood Rat Shrine is sad. But like Catacross, Gluttos, Screaming Bell, none of them get Lookout Sir. Which,
Celestial
I don't know, it's weird.
Still sitting there on his 8 wounds.
It makes sense, right? I mean, those shrines are pretty big.
But at the same time, it's annoying because shooting hasn't been nerfed when it needed to be. And this is just like another bonus to shooting. And it's like, come on, guys.
And there's more shooting coming out as well. Like, are those like Urukai? Are those crossbow guys any good? Or
They're all right.
Okay, we don't need to talk anymore. That's already disappointing.
They're a good shooting unit for destruction. However, that's not saying much.
What is that compared to? Like an ogre pistol and
they
a
are the best.
catapult spider?
Other than blood vultures, they are the best shooting that destruction has.
Yeah.
Great. The old Thundertusk shooting used to be great. Do you know what it used to be?
Yeah.
Like on a 2-up was like 6 more wounds or something.
Crazy.
I mean, they've still got the Thundertusk has still got the roll 12 dice.
It depends on unit size though.
Yeah, and that's not going to go well in this edition.
No,
everything's going to be tiny.
But it was great against my Skaven when we play those games. Right.
Glorious.
Okay, so we've got that. Charging is the same. Charge phase, forward to victory. Has that changed? No. Unleash Hell. We already covered that.
Yeah.
So the next thing we're going to go is the combat. So the fighting of Age of Sigmar. So did it go? Yeah, it did. So we've got the fight. If you pass. Okay, so things have changed here because there's something talking about a pass. So the fight sequence. So when it is your go to pick a unit to fight, you must pick one editable friendly unit to fight, or you must pass. A unit is eligible to fight if it is within 3 inches of an enemy unit and it has not fought in that phase, or if it made a charge move in the same turn and it has not fought in that phase. You cannot pass if there is a friendly unit that is eligible to fight. Okay, so that's kind of sounding the same.
Yeah, I think basically a lot of this is the same. There is an interesting rule, the second kind of italic rule on the side, which is basically like if something has a fight at the start of the combat phase ability, if they're dragged into combat later in that phase, they can still fight. And I'm pretty sure, like from when I played Ideneth a bit, like when it was turn 3, if anything didn't fight at the start of the combat phase, if they then got dragged into combat, they still couldn't fight. Whereas now they can.
Because I think I played against your IDK and we both agreed that's how it worked because you spearheaded that idea. And I mean,
maybe we were wrong. Maybe we were wrong, but like they've at least kind of set that out. That
sounds right. It's meant to be a benefit, isn't it? And then it's kind of like it's hurt you because you're meant to fight at the start. So it makes sense.
Yeah. I was wondering whether the pass rule was going to be you could opt to not attack.
Yeah, so it means you can opt to not pile in, basically.
Yeah, for sure. The changed pile-in is pretty big. Just saying.
Pile-in is huge.
You can move a model making a pile-in move up to 3 inches. When you make a pile-in move with a model, it must finish the move no further from the nearest enemy unit than it was at the start of the move. So it used to be model. So basically, over 1st edition, 2nd edition, 3rd edition, they just made piling in more easier. Because the first time, it had to be, as long as you didn't, you had to basically finish your move closer to the enemy model. 2nd edition was you could pile in as long as you didn't finish any further away. So either you're base to base, you were fine. And now it's just like the whole unit, which is, I think, good because the fact that coherency is more of a pain. Like otherwise, it would just, I don't know how restrictive it would make it if it was model and not unit, but it would make it more restrictive.
It goes a long way to like fixing the coherency issues. Yeah. Also, like 6-inch piling in Stonehorns in Blood Gallop, just whipping around the size of those units.
So much fun.
Yeah, like that's kind of fun.
There goes my times of my opponent was something big and scary like a Stonehorn and all that, and they go, I'm going to pile into you. I think you'll find you're 0.1 millimeter closer to that model actually, so you'll be going.
Yeah, and that's what I really like. It was like there was so much kind of, especially on TTS with Hammer, where you're like, oh, you are 0.1 close. Yeah, like now it's just like I can still do this fight. Yeah. Like you can still get pinned between 2 units, but you can no longer get pinned by models, which I do like.
And it's massively will speed up the game. Like just in that alone, which is not, especially like one thing about TTS. Yes, it's great, but it's like. You in real life, you would never know that something was 0.1 bloody mil or whatever closer to something else. That's cool. Strike first and strike last later.
Can I just say that I love that they've put this in because in AOS 2, fight first and fight last were a nightmare. Like trying to work out like what happens when like a unit with fight first was made to fight last and like all of the other stuff. You had to actually trawl through like. Oh, they made like 4 FAQs. Yeah, they made like 3 FAQs on it, something ridiculous like that. It was a nightmare. Like, yeah. Whereas now everything's clearly laid out, and I love it.
Yeah. So what has changed in this?
Bits. So
Do you mind
I'm
taking
pretty
us through?
sure. Yeah, I can't remember. Read
Okay.
it through and then I'll remember.
So some abilities have an effect that allows a unit to fight at either the start or the end of the combat phase. These effects are called strike first effects and strike last effects. So what we all know as like the activation wars, basically. The rule in sections, those numbers, do not apply to these effects. Use the rules here instead. If a strike first effect applies to any unit, those units fight before all other units fight. If a strike last applies to any units, those units fight after all other units have fought. So it might seem a bit weird if you're a bit new, but there's lots of like spells or something out there to try and make an enemy unit fight last. It says if a strike first effect applies to a unit from both players' armies, the players alternate fighting with those units, starting with the player whose turn it is. Similarly, if a strike last effect applies to a unit from both players' armies, in the players alternate in fighting with those units, starting with the player whose turn it is. If a strike first effect and a strike last effect apply to the same unit at the same time, then they cancel each other out, and neither effect applies to that unit. So
there's a number of very big changes. So firstly, like say you ever had like an Idoneth Deepkin matchup, a mirror matchup, and you got turn 3. Basically, the person whose turn it was would do all of their fight first, and then the other person would do all of their fight first, and then you'd all turn on the other person's turn. Now, if you're both fighting first, you take it in turns. So it's kind of corner case, but makes some of those weird matchups better. Really, really big is that command abilities happen before the strike first effects. Because often the problem was like, say Idoneth went in with their fight at the start of the combat phase, they'd go in and you were never able to put up, all-out defense, for example, on a unit because they were fighting before you had the chance to do your command abilities. Now you can always put up your buffs before they get to fight. So that's pretty big. Also, there's a really weird interaction between fight first and fight last. So basically, how it worked was recency took priority. So say in my turn, I cast a spell on an Idoneth Deepkin unit, which basically was like they fight last. So at the start of my combat phase, my spell would take effect. However, because their start of combat phase happened second, they overrode it because they were more recent, and so they still fought at the start of the combat phase, which is bullshit. So now they just cancel each other out, which makes perfect sense. And
it makes just more common sense on that, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Just to catch up with the chat. So the Never One put a comment. It was 80 minutes ago. Sorry, I missed it. But it says, "Just got it. Do I need to rewind?" We only just covered like the basic stuff of the rules we've been through so far, but we did cover the costs of all the pre-orders that are going to come out at the very start of the video. What we got here? Racing is saying the rules and stats are not only in leaks. GW lifted the NDA. It's weird they gave it all to us. Like I was expecting. Like, I messaged you earlier, Alex, and I was like, when these rules that have been leaked and put on the internet, when they come in a format that's easier to read, we'll go over them. And then games work. Then I checked my phone
2 hours later, and I was like, "Here you go.
Here you go.
Yeah, have everything.
Have everything." It's like suspicious, isn't it? It's like when you've been in a really bad argument with someone, and then they've like made you a lovely drink. And you just think, what the, there's probably a virus in this. Probably a Trojan horse somewhere. And then Patrick is saying, any rules yet on match played? We haven't done that yet. Any rules yet on match played? So I think match play. So does we get secondaries like in 40K? There are, I know, like we've seen from when they've done articles before, there are like kind of secondaries, but it looks like it's more along the lines of you get 3 victory points if you did this in a game. And stuff, maybe.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, we can cover it more later, but you've got start of your hero phase, you have a secondary that you choose, and I think there's 6 secondaries to choose from, and you can only use them once per turn, and that gets you 2 points each battle round. And then there's also like a tertiary objective which you choose, I think even at the list building stage, you say my army's going to do this, and then you get some more points. I can't exactly remember how many if you complete that. So yeah, not quite on 40k levels, thank God, but like, yeah, secondaries are way more impactful than they were in 2.0.
Yeah, because before it was kind of like a lot of games just didn't.
You only used them in tournaments.
Yeah,
that was the only time they had any use.
Yeah, there's very few battle.
And that was only to work out standings. Yeah.
Yeah, like 1 or 2 battle plans where it's like maybe Blood and Glory, where like you and your opponent could go, I'm going to make sure you can't get a major here, so it'll come down to exit. But like it was very, very obscure situations. And then Leon is saying pick and edible unit to fight. That does apply to Flesh Eater Courts and Ogre Maw tribes. So going on to, so I think that's everything there. That we cover the fight first and the fight last, which is great. Because like we said, there's like so many articles and Games Workshop said this is how it works. The next article is like, no, actually it's this. And then the third one, it's like, actually, no, ignore what we said the second time, but the first time, don't ignore that now. That's now what we think, but stay tuned because it may change. It's just like all over the place, and no one likes looking at FAQs all the time, going like, because you think you know how your army plays. I mean, actually, do you see the FAQ that came out with it? No,
it's such a bad feeling.
Maybe this cunning ploy is they've released this now, and then on the release day they go, actually, you're going to have to buy the book because we've put all the day one FAQs into the books.
Yeah, it could do, or
They won't, but
this could not be the rule set. They could go, jokes, buy the book.
Yeah.
Which would be fun. So attacking, no, that hasn't changed. Good, so glad you guys are here. Going on to the attacking sequence, though, that pretty much sounds the same.
So this is all about this talks about the modifiers, though, which I think is worth talking about.
That is kind of important.
Okay.
Yeah. So now basically in AOS you can only ever get plus or minus to hit. Plus or minus 1 to hit wounds and save rolls. So yeah, like you hit on 4s on your war scroll, you can only ever hit on 3s. Which is cool because there was nothing worse than going against, say, Archaon, who was -3 to hit and making you roll 6s. That was just rubbish. However, what is worth noting, which isn't immediately obvious from the rule set and probably needs a clarification FAQ just to explain to people, is that we'll go with save. So say you've got a 5-up save, you have +2 to save from different sources. You can only have a 4-up save. However, say something comes and attacks you with Rend 1, then one of your +1 saves and that Rend cancel each other out. Because you've got one extra +1 save, you've still got. So basically, like the modifiers, so like the hit and wound rolls can have, like, if you've got +2 to hit, if your opponent is -1 to hit, then you still will have your +1, but you just can never go more than +or -1.
It's basically like giving contingencies.
Yeah, it gives you play against Rend and against modifiers of like minus or +1 to hit. But yeah, without the feel bads of suddenly being -3 to hit and with no way to give yourself +1 to hit.
Yeah. I mean, does it? So the whole Rend situation, it works with that. So like you could have like your +2 save would work against the -1 Rend. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's cool. So let's go look at the other stuff. Because I'm pretty like all out attack, all out defense. We've already covered. It's got better now. It's +1 to your hit rolls and then +1 to your save rolls.
Although I don't know if it's been mentioned, but worth noting it's now in the shooting phase as well, with all out defense, which is cool. That was always something that made the shooting meta better. It was like, well, I can't even protect myself with command points.
Yeah, I think I remember. I think the first time I ever tried to use it in the shooting phase, I think I was going against yourself, Luke, and I think you were trying to. I can't remember what you were trying to hit me with. summoning an ogre army, so it wasn't very good. But I was like, oh, you're gonna hit my my arch warlock engineer, are you? In the forest. Then you'll find he'll have a like a 1-up save at that point, and then you're like, yeah, you can't use it in the shooting phase. And I was like, oh, bugger.
Yep.
Like generally, like I never had played it wrong before because it never really came up. But I only found out about, I don't know, 8 months ago that you can't use it in the shooting phase, but now you can, so it's fine. Right, so there's that. Just to catch up on the chat. Racing is saying you will only get the real rules from Warhammer Plus. Does that mean as in like the
that's their streaming service?
Yes,
thing
service.
right? I know it's a completely different subject. How's that going to work? Because surely they can't pump out enough content for you to pay how much money every month for it. Like,
GW, they'll find a way.
They'll find a way.
It's going to be
£15 a month. Every 2 months,
just.
maybe a new program comes on.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And it says, Leon says, I'm sad for my Death Rattle formations, not being able to use it on match play. What's the point of White King now? Well, they're going to FAQ it, aren't they, to make the White King?
Yeah, so I actually think the White King, on that note, the White King's got a lot better. So reroll ones to hit, or rerolls in general, are now actually quite rare in the game because GW are clearly moving away from that. So obviously he needs an FAQ. It needs to be either, until your next hero phase or, whatever. But like his command ability is actually good now because it's the only source of reroll ones to hit. And then having Graveguard as backline is always good. So actually, I think the White King has got better, as long as the FAQ does what it needs to do.
And makes it usable. And like even before the FAQ comes out, I'm sure your opponent is fine with you using the command ability because obviously it's meant to not say only in that hero phase. So then we have Nathan. So he's saying Rend is unlimited and can be more than -1. It's only a cap of +1 to your save. So yeah. So you can have like -3 Rend and all that sort of thing. That won't change.
You just need multiple pluses to your save to negate that. So you'd need like if it was -3 Rend and you wanted a +1 to your save, you somehow need to find 4 ways of giving yourself +1 save.
Yeah. So the key is that you can only ever have +1 to your roll. So like if you've got a 5-up, you can only ever have a 4-up save, but your other pluses to save, which are kind of in your back pocket, can be used to counteract Rend.
Yeah. There you go. And then you've got Racing saying only 1 minus saves Rend. You can go higher. Yeah, exactly what I would say. And then Duran is saying, where is that from? That's from Go Warhammer Community. They've given us all the core rules for free. So go on there, check out their articles. You'll see it there, and you can download it absolutely free. Is it a PDF? Yes.
Yes.
So there we go. I'm just going to quickly go to Leon because he's came back at you, Alex, with the White King. So he says, on the White King, but since you can only issue 1 command to a single squad, why would you prefer to buff your Graveguard with the White King instead of a Vampire Lord with +1 attack?
It depends. I need to check
the White King is in the hero phase.
That was going to be my argument, was that so the limit on command abilities is once per phase, not once per turn. So if the Vampire Lord's command ability happens in the combat phase, which I think it does, then you could do both of them.
Presume the White King one, it will be changed to using the hero phase, last 2 next hero phase.
Yeah, so you could use them. You could use both if you wanted them to really hurt. Also, models die. Like your Vampire Lord could very easily get sniped off.
What about a White King, a Vampire Lord, and Manfred? All buffs that don't negate each other.
So just to confirm, the Vampire Lord's ability is in the combat phase. You could do both if you were so inclined. Get those Graveguard absolutely murdering, which they do very well at.
And 25 mil bases, so they're laughing at the coherency.
If you want to hear me, wax lyrical about Graveguard, just watch the video tomorrow.
Yes, exactly. That's going up tomorrow, 8 o'clock UK time, and that's if you've got. I'm not going to say how long it goes on for, but if you've got about 2.5 hours, give it a watch.
Just to reply to George, while we're on the topic, so it's once per phase. So if in the combat phase you can only put 1 command ability. But if they're saying that a command ability that happens in the hero phase, which continues until the next hero phase, you could stack both onto them. Yeah. So it's only limited by phase, not by turn.
Exactly. That's a very good point, because if it was the other way around, then it would make all of those ones not very good, or like very not easy to, we'll lob that on them. And then, Leon,
difficult to synergize, basically, it would have been, but it now works nicely together.
Exactly. And Leon just saying thank you for explaining it, because he's new to playing. So going on to wounds. So something I do want to mention here that is new is talking about wards. So it's just like a new name they've given: damage prevention, after saves, disgustingly resilient, something I call death saves. They've given it a name. They've given it a ward save. So this is a very original name, which I imagine was just from Warhammer Fantasy. But it's good because we can all relate to it, and then it's just the same flat out that you call it. So some abilities allow you to roll a dice to negate a wound before it is allocated to a model. Abilities of this type are referred to as wards, and the dice roll is referred to as a ward roll. Up to one ward roll can be made for each model or for each wound or mortal wound before it is allocated to the model in question. If the wound roll is successful, the wound or mortal wound is negated. Has no effect on the model if the ward roll was successful, I meant to say. And is this stopping Daughters of Cain yet with their re-roll of it? Because it says you can only make one roll.
Yes.
Or not?
You
Also,
can always only do one.
had an exception.
You can always only do one re-roll.
But this says you can only do one roll.
Yeah, you can only make up to one ward roll, so you can't do a re-roll on it.
Oh no, yeah, but this is but battle tomes always override core rules.
True. Okay.
Quick question though for you, Alex. Am I correct? Because you make the ward roll before the wound is allocated to the model in question. If you had Phoenix Guard being your what's it called? Honored Retinue. The Honored Retinue specifically states it takes it when the wound is allocated. So does that mean you could do the ward save? If you fail that, the wound is then allocated, and because it's been allocated, you can then move it across to your Phoenix Guard.
Can I just say, if Alex has an answer to this question, it shows just how well in tune he is to the game. Like, Jesus Christ, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, I mean, right. So before it's allocated to a model, as it stands, I don't. I'd have to read the Phoenix Guard War Scroll. So, I think how you do it is
it's the Honored Retinue. Rather
yes, yeah. So, because again, War Scrolls override, or Battle Tomes override core rules. So, I think you could put the Ward Prayer onto a unit and then do it that way. But even so, you're then limited by only being able to do one ward roll per turn or per thing. So I don't think so, but I'd have to really delve into it.
Interesting discussion though. So we've got that. The only other things I imagine might be new are the slain models and the returning slain models, or was that?
Oh, so not so much this, but the next page has my favorite rule ever written by GW, and that is differentiating slain models and running away models, which basically means that pink horrors, when they run away, don't split.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're not.
I'm so here for it.
That's fantastic. And I don't mean to always jump on the negative, but unfortunately, that's how my brain works. That does mean that my 100% efficient winning streak of my clan molder list of returning the rat ogres because they are slain when they run away, which they will do, is no longer going to be valid.
Yeah.
Okay, so the winning streak ends here.
This is the next page. I don't know if this was already the case, but Inspiring Presence now happens at the start of the Battle Shock phase, rather than just before you do the roll.
It was the same. It was also the person's turn person whose turn it was had to choose if they wanted to do Inspiring Presence before the other person chose.
Just been playing it wrong. Cool.
Yeah, so it sounds a little bit depending on the situation, it could be impactful. And then returning slain models. I remember we read this in an article. Basically, you can't daisy chain them out when you return them. They have to be from where the original models of that unit were, not the ones that are slain. You bring them back. And I think that's really it. If we missed anything, you guys are aware of it. pop it in the chat. And I will just catch up the chat because we've got Reason saying that it is against unit that's somehow got multiple fill no pains. You only get one. Yeah, you only get one now. And then it is only for the groups like Fire Slayers who can stack several wards, right? I think they can probably still.
No.
Very little Fire Slayers. So.
No. So like that was dealt with in the last GHB where you were like unable to stack multiple feel no pains or wards as they're now called. So I think it's just a continuation of that rule, but it's actually now in the core rules rather than just a GHB.
It makes sense. I mean, like we talked about in tomorrow's video, like Blood Knights. Once per battle, you could make them have like a 5-up ward, re-rolling ones on it. Like so, although it sounds like you can only have one and everything else, you can make it quite useful. So Battle Shock. So the only thing to mention here about, like you said, when models run away, they're not treated as being slain.
Yeah. The other thing worth noting is that in AOS 2, you added 1 to the bravery characteristic for every 10 models in a unit. That's now being removed. So you don't get... but there are things like, say, the Skaven ability, which get +2 to their bravery for every 10 models. Because that's a battle tome rule, that overrides the core rules still.
Yeah. Exactly.
Basically,
so Skaven are fine, Mikey.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
so
on the
basically,
war scroll. If it's not, then you haven't got it anymore.
Yeah, so basically, for anyone who doesn't know, if something in a battle tome overrides the core rules, you always take that over what's in the core rules. And quite interestingly, they've actually, for the first time, when we were talking about those hit and wound modifiers, they've basically said this overrides what is said in battle tomes.
Which is good.
But yeah, just for anyone who doesn't know, if you're ever unsure, the battle tome takes precedent and then the core rules.
Yeah, exactly, which is always useful to know. And just want to say as well is that like Inspiring Presence is now you can't just chuck it out everywhere, I believe, because you can only use it once, can't you?
Correct. Again, it becomes a lot more of a choice. Yeah,
which is good because I think Battle Shot needed to become more of a thing. Especially with Pink Horrors not being able to, split on that note. And it makes things like, I'm not saying it's a lot better, but Chaos Undivided, Mark of Chaos from, Slaves of Darkness, maybe more play, Archaon's ability to make sure nobody runs on the battlefield, those sort of things more useful. We have got Venom in the chat, so saying that, asking us a question. From what you have seen, is Nagash viable to use in an army? So he's got 2 questions. So I'll answer that one first. So Nagash, I mean, we'll hear everyone's thoughts and stuff at the moment, but I'm just going to say, I think you're still having to need a very specific tactic you've got in mind for Nagash in a certain list building, or you really want to play with him. I don't think Nagash is really at a point where it's like, I'll put him in this list, or like I can't make a soul like Gravelord without chucking in Nagash. I feel like his points is very high. He can have a 2+ save re-roll on ones and be +1 to hit and +1 to wound. There are things like that, but the guy is like 950 points, which is
the same as Archaon.
Has he gone up?
He's apparently going up to 950.
Wow.
Which is rough, really rough.
Can I just say, it turns out someone told me that a model with it's more than half the points of your army can't be taken in your army.
That's correct.
So my Khorne Dragon, which was famously known for winning all the tournaments, no longer available. I haven't even had a game with it yet, and it's
back to a 3,000 point game.
I would say though, back to the Nagash question.
Yep.
With new Arcane Bolt, he's actually got some play. Because what you do is you load him. You cast 8 Arcane Bolts onto himself, so he's now there sat with 8 D3 mortal wounds. You then charge him into an opponent, and he just blows up. It might not be good, but doing an average of 16 mortal wounds before he gets to fight.
But he has to.
Bonkers.
What do you mean though? Because he has to be in combat to do.
No. So basically, when you do Arcane Bolt, you choose, I think it's at the start of any turn, any phase, you can activate it, and basically it does 1 mortal wound if the opponent is outside of 12, or D3 if the opponent is within 3. So all you do is you cast all of them onto himself, move him up, and then charge him, and then at the start of the combat phase you activate his arcane bolts and he blows up.
Yeah, you basically like store.
Oh, you don't do it in the hero phase. So it's not.
No. So you choose when the damage is done.
Oh,
so
okay.
Basically, the law now is you like hold this like arcane bolt, and he chooses when to use it. Like,
I read that wrong the other day. I was saying it was a load of shit because I thought it was in the hero phase.
You choose the phase.
Okay, yeah, I like that. And then you do another D3 mortal wound.
Also with Mystic Shield,
charge or something.
Mystic Shield +1 to save, just giving your whole army +1 to save is very good. So like, it's difficult. He's not going to be competitive, but like anybody saying that he's completely unplayable, he's okay. But yeah, he'll be fine.
Yes, I definitely wasn't saying that. But now that I have reconfirmed what the rules are in my head, I think it's gone more playable. 950 points. Right? It's a lot.
He also, he heals 4 plus D3 every turn, I think. Because he can heal himself, and then he's got the heroic actions.
Is he a priest as well?
Not anymore. Also, if he ever rolls that double 1 to cast, he gets that miscast. So that's a big one.
Yeah, I'm loving miscasts.
There's some salty people about that. It's funny.
And that's unmodified, right? Like
yeah.
So that's the thoughts on Nagash. And then going on to also saying that I am about to build and paint a Mortarch. Any suggestions? So when you say a Mortarch, I presume you mean the 3 you get: Manfred, Neferata, Arcan. Depends on your army. Have you got an Ossiarch Bone Reaper army? Arcan. If it's sold like Gravelords, which I presume it probably is, I would say Neferata is my favorite character. Everything else, I'd say build Manfred. But I think Neferata is good.
They're both awesome.
Yeah, just the whole thing going just waiting till you fight someone who's never read the Soul of Gravelord book and go, yes, charge me. All right.
What I would say is it depends on what you want your list to do. If you want to be a bit more attacking and aggro, then Manfred is better because he's got +1 to hit and wound bubble. He's got the ability to give +1 attack, and he's teleporting all over the place being a dick. While Neferata makes a unit unrendable and makes them -1 to hit. So she's more for that defensive play. It depends how you want to build your army. They both have their merits. Manfred's is probably better, but they're both awesome.
Yeah, agreed. Go whatever the character thinks, which is cool because before it was like, have you got a Nostric Bone Reaper army? He says no, he's got Solar Gravelords. But back then we Legion of the Gash, build Arcan and then make an Ossiarch Bone Reaper army because the other 2 are just not useful. So it's good that that's changed. So we've got a few stuff in the chat, so we'll go through this first before we move on. So Stardog is saying, hello guys, just now joining, loving what I've read of the rules so far. Happy to hear that, Stardog. Hope you enjoy the rest of the content we've got on today's video. And if you want to rewatch what we've already said, obviously you can do that now, or you can watch it when the video has finished. And any questions or anything you got, let us know that in the chat as well. Leon is saying that are the + to attack also capped? No, it hasn't stated that, has it? No.
It's only hits, wounds, and save, and save.
Yeah.
So plus it's to movement, to casting, whatever. You're good.
And then I'm gonna try and pronounce this.
I want to build a clan pestilence.
Yes, if I try and pronounce that, I'm going to say something very bad, and I don't want to because that's the only thing going through my mind at the moment. So I wanted to build a clan pestilence with the new reinforces rules in the army is dead now since I can't take 3 blocks of 40 plague monks anymore.
Wait until we see what minimum unit sizes are.
So there are going to be, it's already been confirmed by player testers, there are going to be massive changes to both points, but more importantly, unit sizes within AOS. So I'm going to assume plague monks are going from minimum 10 to minimum 20. I'd be really surprised if they didn't, in which case you could take, 4 times 40 plague monks if you wanted to. So like, yeah, we need to wait for the GHB, but I'm pretty sure Plague Monks will go minimum 20.
Yeah,
exactly. And then there may be things as well that I don't know. It may just be like unit sizes go up, but also like the Skaven as an example, where they go, we don't get +1 to our bravery in the battleshock phase. For every 10, we get +2. They might have things like we don't are like Skaven horde units don't apply. Don't have that rule doesn't apply to them. Like so, there's loads of changes on that, I think. And then Leon is saying, I don't think it should be just a hit to wound and save.
That's about the attacks.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all good. Delta saying thoughts on the new Croak War Scroll.
roll in all those double ones, please.
Yeah, I think with Croak, I haven't fought against the new Croak. Certainly fought against the old one more times than I would like. And I think the new one's more fun because I know you can heal all his wounds back. There's a chance he will die.
So he's
can't go in a
probably. I know it's all relative within the Seraphon book, but he's probably not the competitive choice anymore. You probably take a slam. Basically for two reasons. Firstly, again, this is from a competitive standpoint. If you're competitive, you need to be assured that Croak is going to survive. And if he can take 3 wounds and potentially die, then that's not a sure thing. So that's number one. But more importantly, it's his Celestial Deliverance. It used to be that you could get 22-inch range on his Mortal Wound aura. Now it's only 16, which is just so much different. So yeah, he's fine. He's still very, very good for his points. And in any other book, he would be an auto take. But within what Seraphon is doing, you're probably taking a slan and then using those other points to buy salamanders.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed. You're not short. You're not in short of other things to take in the book. So Henry's also just replying to that Mortark stuff, saying also you can magnetize the Mortark except the armor of the map. Yeah, you can do, or you can buy all 3 of them. And then Matthew Chan, who is saying that and saves can only be +1. Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, but you could make +2 to your save, and it would only be relevant if the enemy is chucking rend at you, etc.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the next thing to go over is going to be terrain. Is it important?
Yeah. So there has been a change to cover. So now you can basically, if you're touching cover and you stand behind it, it's kind of shown on the bottom left picture. But if the line of sight passes over that piece of terrain, you're counted as being in cover. So rather than having to be wholly within.
Okay. Because I swear in the core rules of 2nd edition, there are things like barricade rules and everything else, but I never knew anyone who played them. No one used garrison pretty much until the KO started getting their allegiance. So there's a bunch of rules in there that none of us have really been playing. But it's interesting to see now that it's just cover, which I think makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
You can, again, just like Lookout, sir, the cover units with a wound characteristic of 10 or more can't get cover. Whereas I'm pretty sure, again, before it was just monsters that couldn't get cover.
And I'm going to guess that Fly probably... does Fly ignore cover?
Don't think so. No,
it doesn't.
Fly, you still get cover. Yeah. Because otherwise, IDK doesn't ever get cover turn 1.
Yeah. Shame. Artillery... apart from the Stormcast Blister, can't get cover as well, as far as I'm aware. The Stormcast Blister gets +2, I think, instead. So going on with the next thing. So you've got defensible terrain, which is new, I'm pretty sure. All this is. So defensible terrain features are structures that it is possible for an entire unit to enter and defend, such as intact buildings or fortifications like towers or bastions. Defensible terrain features can be garrisoned. See Rule 17.2. You cannot move models over a defensible terrain feature unless the model can fly, and you cannot move a model onto a defensible terrain feature even if it can fly, unless it is garrisoned terrain feature. So that's basically defensible terrain. Sounds like garrisoned.
So the garrison rulings on the next page. It's all much the same, other than in 2.0 you couldn't garrison a building while within 3 inches of an enemy unit. Now you can. But other than that, nothing's really going to be impacting the game.
Yeah, I'm just reading the next bit. It's just telling you what is large,
Yeah.
and very large terrain, and then talking about Sylvaneth Wildwoods, which are just like well, not Sylvaneth Wildwoods, but just normal Wildwoods on the board that block line of sight. But again, this is stuff that you're probably. I can imagine you turn up to your games and you say to your opponent, "Do you want to play the trees blocking line of sight? Or do you not want to?" Like just.
And I did just check the keywords on the on all these stuff and on the Sylvaneth stuff, and it does also awaken Wildwoods. I thought Durfu was about to get very powerful in Living City if it was just Wildwood keyword.
Yeah,
that was about to get a hell of a lot more fun, but I understand why not.
Yeah, it'd just be one of those things, wouldn't it? It would be like you turn up to a game and it would just be. So I thought we'd just play some trees on the board. Did you with your Living City army? That's weird. Just no other terrain features but trees at this point. Okay, so then we got garrison. So units can garrison defensible terrain features. Up to 60 models can garrison a very large terrain feature, and up to 30 models can garrison a large terrain feature, and up to 15 models can garrison any other defensible terrain features. Models with a wound characteristic of 10 or more cannot garrison terrain features. Units and models garrison a terrain feature are in the terrain features garrison. I mean, like the fact that you can stick 60 models in a garrison building, that sounds new, but like
that's like an extreme. They say what the size dimensions
on
an extremely large is like. You're never going to see it in game.
Yeah.
Would
the Khorne Dragon count as a very large terrain feature?
If you want to go inside that, go for it.
Yeah.
I think the thing that slightly disappoints me is if you can have up to 60 models in a very large terrain feature, but something with 10 wounds can't hide in it.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then Nathan is just making a quick point saying, did I miss Mikey raging that every faction are Necromancers now with the Rally Command? No, I didn't rage about that because I'm glad that every army has seen the right way to not do necrophilia, but like just to raise the dead back. I think is
not
definitely
raising the dead; they're just getting the wounded back up.
Except for pink horrors can go die.
Yes, this video has got like, here are the new rules for Age of Sigmar, everything else, the prices for the new stuff coming pre-order, and also very distinct, FU pink horrors, which I think is definitely a theme that we should continue throughout. Not just this, but if we could also go back and edit the Soul Blood Grave video to it.
My entire lens on AOS is does it kill pink horrors? How badly does it destroy them? Death to all pink horrors, just basically.
Well, like I
think we need that as a shirt.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I haven't fought against them too many. I certainly fought against them like enough to go like, oh, my Marauder's in closest contact to that pink horse. I have to attack it, and then the guy's like, great, now I have 2 extra models in the objective. I'm like, brilliant. And then I remember seeing Luke play against someone with the pinks, and he shot them with just an ogre pistol. Turn 1 to go, I might as well just see what happens. Because each player hadn't even had a turn yet. He lost 1 pink horror, and then he gained 5 more. So like, bastards. Right, so I think this is all pretty much standard, isn't it? The whole garrison stuff. I don't think it's really changed too much.
And let's be honest, I doubt we're going to see many people using it.
I just like to say, I know KO does, obviously, and Seraphon with their pyramid and everything else. I've never garrisoned anything in my life. So I don't know, it just means my way of playing, which probably is, but I just never have. So then we have objectives, which
I'm just quickly checking.
There are 2 key changes here.
Please take us through them.
Yes.
The first and obvious one is that monsters now count as 5 models and 5 wound units count as 2, or 5 wound and up. So yeah, Monster Mash has suddenly become viable in AOS, which is cool. The thing I really like is now objective control is decided at the start or before the first battle round, at the start of the first battle round, which basically means that if you're going first, you can move straight off the objective and you still control the objective.
So you don't have to wait for the first turn to be done.
Exactly.
Okay, that's quite weird.
Which I like. I think that's cool.
Because it's just another advantage to go in second, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's good. And I just want to say that Sis in the chat has said, To quote you, Luke, so it says, "Not raising the dead; they're just getting the dead back up." Well, call it what you want. I can, on 6s at least, get my Blood Knights back at last. So this is something the Blood Knights used to come back.
I can do that with Fulminators now. I can do
that.
Mornfang. You know, it's a two-way street.
Yeah, I mean, unless you've got loads of command points, I mean, you need 6s. Like, it's not that guaranteed.
I'm hoping that down the line you might start seeing things that, you know, there'll be a spell you can cast up that to a 5 or
pretty sure, especially to be very saddened with that, because it's like courtiers are like, what's my purpose? And it just be like when you're talking to your old DVD player and you're like, got a PlayStation, I don't really need you. You're perfectly fine in good condition, but you know, just out of my life. So we've got that. We've also got a Star Drake here. Very important to know. Going on to the next thing, we're talking about wizards. So this is also we're talking about miscasts mainly. So on an unmodified cast and roll of a 2, the spell is miscast. The spell is not successfully cast, and the caster suffers D3 mortal wounds, and the caster cannot attempt to cast any more spells in that phase. So I don't know if this is the same as 40k, but is this exactly the same as 40k?
Not quite.
Oh, bugger. Because like the amount of times I've played against new AOS people who come from 40k, and they roll a double one, and they go, Perils of the Warp, oh no, it doesn't happen here. Can it not just do exactly the same? So I can just say, yes, it is the same. Cool, there's that. Anything else?
Only the difference is Mystic Shield, which we've already discussed.
I mean, with miscasts, poor Nagash is all I would say. I
think
oh wait, no, Techless just automatically. Yeah, no, ignore it.
I think it should just be modified, personally.
Also, makes Techless stronger.
Yeah,
because that's what we needed.
And Zinch doesn't care because it will just change. Oh no, because it's unmodified, isn't it?
Yeah, so Host Duplicitous gives them rerolls. Also, Blue Scribes gives them rerolls, so they do have access. So yeah, but Croak as well doesn't really have access to rerolls.
No,
but like, honestly, like anybody who complains about this, it's like, are you really complaining that one of the most strong mechanics in the game has taken a slight nerf? I'm fine with it. Like, you know, it's maybe not the best rules, but I'm fine with it.
I think it's nice to finally have something in there which gives you a moment of consideration. You know, if your wizard is been shot a couple of times and you've only got 2 wounds left, you can cast, but you've now got a risk.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a very low risk, though.
And because Alero has so many ways to heal now, this potentially has made her pretty strong in the meta, I imagine, because she has ways to heal the damage she could cause to herself and done 1.
Okay.
On to the next thing. So go. You just have to mention her name. I remember when I saw her in War, she was like, "Oh, that's great! Like she's got some buffs. That's nice. Oh, her points went up. Why?" It was just sad times. Even with all the retrospect, knowing about the changes and stuff coming to help heroes and monsters, why did her points go up? So endless spells. We actually us 3 talked about all this, didn't we? In the other video.
There's one thing that we didn't discuss because we didn't know yet.
Crack on.
Which I believe is what Alex was about to mention, which you can now only have 1 endless spell per a wizard, I believe it was.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say.
Obviously, there's a limit on how many you can take, which is written into the rules on like the points. Like your number of points you're playing gives you a limit of how many endless spells you can take, but you can't bring more endless spells than wizards that you have.
Yeah, it's a good point. Just to look at the chat as well, we got Henry saying that waiting for all the Gloomspite wizards to go pop, which I think a lot of them have like 4 wounds. Andrew is saying that I don't think the Luminef unit champion wizards will like the new miscast rules, which
true.
No, because they'll still be fine because wounds are allocated to a unit, or like damage is allocated to a unit, not a model. So even though the damage would go would be as a result of the wizard cast, you would still just put the damage. I mean, they're still not going to like it, but you would just put the damage onto the rest of the unit.
Yeah. And then Henry's also saying that, Zeech now may not want to throw spells into the air as much. Like we said, they have still got ways to fire.
Yeah, they've got rerolls. They're still, I mean, it's worth it for, especially with like, you know, cogs and now their ability to take an extra spell from the spell lore. Like, I think you could see a Tzeentch list which can get close to getting a unit of pinks turn 1, which is disgusting. Like, unless their summoning table gets changed, which fingers crossed.
Yeah,
but fingers crossed.
Hopefully. And then Zoo is saying that it's kind of funny that you can walk through the wall endless spells now too. Is that true? Like, I haven't read through this, so is that?
What is this?
I don't know.
Yeah, hang on.
Because I'm pretty sure you have to fly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's still a model.
Because it still counts as a predatory endless spells, moving. Yeah, I'm not seeing this.
If you could let us know where that is, Zoo or Zook, if you could let us know that, that'd be great. Fantastic. 90.3.
Oh, yeah, you can move models across or through an endless spell as though it were not there, but you cannot finish a model's move on an endless spell.
So now you're not using endless spells to just block movement.
Nice.
How does that work with, is it Prismatic Palisade?
I think, the War Scroll overrides the core rules.
Yeah.
I think that might just block line of sight. I think that's the only thing it does. So does that
mean but that means the nice trick that Host Duplicitous does is broken, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully. And does that mean my Osirok Bone Reaper bird is no longer doing its prime function?
Yep.
It does mean Kragnos gets better. Because he can't get pinned by endless spells.
Awful. Paint up Kragnos, so excited to use him. He's I haven't brought the most competitive list, just like a mixed destruction. Like, what the hell? I've got Kragnos running it, all that sort of thing. And your opponent's just smirking at you because they just brought fuckloads of endless spells just to make your day horrible.
Honestly, I was watching a battle report with him in the other day. He just got taken out by a unit of 10 Evoticas. It's like, mortal wounds. Here you go, dead.
Yeah. I mean, what I will say, though, from turning away from just kicking cash across because it doesn't need it. I think so. Scaltide, just walk through, which is quite nice. Which is, I remember trying to walk around it and then it just moved next to you again. It's bloody pain, this thing, isn't it? As we mentioned it earlier. And then Andrew is saying that miscasts say that the caster suffers the mortal wounds and the caster was the unit champion, not the unit. I'll be honest, like Lumineth with unit wizards, it's the bane of my existence of understanding how they work.
There's a whole load of jank there, but ultimately you can't allocate wounds to a model. Like, there's nothing in the game which allows you to do that. Like, you can pick models out of a unit, but like in terms of allocating damage, it's done to the unit, not to the model. So yeah, it would go onto the unit, not onto the model.
Cool. I was just sad because I'd rather kill their wizards outright. And then Delta, I think I missed your one. So does that thing with the endless spells also apply to my bound endless spells?
As in the limit? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So that is that. Unit of wizards. So maybe this is important. Have you guys read this?
Yeah, it's not very important.
Okay. I just wondered because
it just basically says you do it. You pick a unit, a model that the spell is cast from.
Okay.
For like distances and stuff.
That's fine. Pressure endless spells. Priests like will they do? Leon saying will they do a new endless spell box? Maybe. Maybe. But I think they've already got a lot of endless spells out there.
I do think
I don't see any more generic ones. Yeah.
There's if you go back up a page on the little side, it does say after an endless spell is removed from play, it can be summoned again if the spell on its war scroll is successfully cast in a different hero phase. Therefore, it means you can't be removing it and then recasting it somewhere else. It cannot set up again on the same turn.
Yeah, that's a good point. It says it somewhere else actually in the rules as well that a spell an endless spell that's been discast can't be cast again in that hero phase, which has huge implications for like Tzeentch, where basically Lords of Change could unbind an endless spell in the hero phase. So what they did is they'd have the Umbral spell portal, they'd cast a spell through the portal, they'd then unbind that spell portal, they then recast it, and because it was a new model, they could cast another spell through it. No, you can't do that. Also, there was like Everblaze Comet recycling, where you would where you would like cast it on turn 1, then turn 2 you'd unbind it at the start of your hero phase, and then in turn 2 you'd cast it again. So any of that, or like getting double tapped by Geminids for -2 to hit or -2 attacks, that's gone. Yeah, it's only a good thing for the game for sure. especially with how much better end the spells are likely to be.
I remember when again, I think one of the first games going against Seraphon, and it was like, and they were like, and they won the priority. I risked everything on the priority roll, and I lost it. And I was like, well, at least I'm going to move to the Geminids. And they're like, yes, they're bound Geminids. So, and I was like, oh, bugger! Like, just everything just go away.
Yep.
Was there ever a case that, like, off topic, but like the Seraphon brought Geminids and bound Geminids because they're two different war scrolls?
Yeah, you could do it in theory.
I
Not
think
that anybody really did, but you could do it.
Right, so Proteus, I think we've covered a lot of this. Like we did that long video on it.
Yeah, this has been covered. I've not seen anything new or different.
So our forward end of spells, because we were again loads of the like presumably updated war scrolls for end of spells that are going to come out. But when we read the article, I think we're pretty much like GW has gone quite wild in making how like powerful end of spells are now. We're thinking they're a bit more tamer.
So the only predatory ender spell that I have knowledge on in terms of the new edition is the Blood-Red Viper within Dock, and that hasn't had its war scroll change, but it's gone up to 95 points, which is still bonkers. Like I know it's 100. It was 40 before, so it's more than doubled in price, but it's twice as effective, so that's 80 points, and you can never lose control of it. So it's going to be really impactful. It was already an auto take at 40. At 95, it's still going to be really, really good. I mean, they explicitly said that faction-specific ender spells will be getting war scroll changes, like where necessary, in one of the Warcom articles. So, like, hopefully they'll do a good job of balancing it. But I still stand by much of what I said in that video. Like, I don't like it. Like, there's no longer that element of chance. Blah 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 blah. They're going to be very, very strong. But hopefully GW will do a good job at least of balancing it, even if I don't like the rule.
Yeah, hopefully. And again, like the general handbook could overwrite stuff that we see in the core rules. Just going to say that George the Badger is asking us a quick question. What do we think the benefit will be of taking under strength units?
No.
Basically, it's a quick answer to that question. Great Sage is saying, so we've already kind of answered this question, but it says, so are the Nighthorn going to be better or worse because of the reinforcement caps which limit chain rouse hordes? All we know is some unit sizes will change in the News General's Handbook, so we can't give a full in-depth answer on that because the chain rouse now may come in minimum size units of 20.
So there was a leak from a playtester who specifically said that Blade Geist Revenants were going to go from minimum 5 to minimum 10, like specifically said that.
Which is good. It's a good point because there's a lot of stuff in the Nighthorn book which is like units of 5.
Yeah. So like again, they are looking at this. It's something they're aware of. I'm sure that the majority of your worries in terms of reinforcements and hordes are going to be answered and sorted out. So before you go selling your armies because you can no longer take your hordes, just wait till the GHB.
Agreed. And then we've got Neil, like I said, local player who's building up his Doors of Cain, which I'll no doubt have the delight of fighting in real life at some point soon, which I'm really happy about. There's saying that the snakes are the snake invocation, still an auto take. And Alex, you are a very in-depth Doors of Cain player, so it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on if you think the snake invocation, presumably it's an invocation.
It's a spell rather than invocation. I think so. Like with Morathi, yes, because again, you can't kill the wizard to break the bond in any quick time. It depends on points. Like if you've got if you're thinking, I mean, she's probably, from what I know, going up to 660, as I understand it. So then you've got 95 or 90. What did I say? 90. Let's say 90 for ease of math. 90. So 750 points on one model. It's fairly big investment. Like especially with like Bloodstalkers going up 30 points. It depends on your list, but it's certainly not a bad pick.
Yeah, awesome model as well. You can say that about a lot of things, but that snake is very.
I think it'll be interesting to see as sort of the meta develops whether we're going to start seeing small armies with that one big focal point, or if we're going to start seeing a lot less use of those bigger characters and a lot more focus on, more generic heroes and wider variety of smaller units. I'm gonna be interested to see how that plays out.
It could go either way. It could either be Monster Mash or it could be MSU, and we don't really know.
Yeah, and I think part of that I find quite exciting as well, because like we don't know, and like although we've been given all this, like when we said about unit sizes and point, we still don't have access to everything, so like we still can't criticize or praise something too much until we know all the details. I'm just skipping through a few pages because it's explaining how like war scrolls work and stuff, so we've already
worth mentioning poor priests. Priests miscast on a cast of a 1, so they've got a 1 in 6 chance of miscasting rather than 1 in 36.
Oh, so they have a miscast as well.
Yeah, and it's on just a cast of a 1.
Where's the
20?
Yeah, 20.1.1 Divine Wrath. On an unmodified chanting roll of a 1, the chanting priest suffers Divine Wrath. The player is not answered, and the chanting priest suffers 1 mortal wound. So yeah, it's less, but the wounds the number of wounds you can receive from it is less as well. So
it's gonna happen far more often.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there's a few things that let you. Obviously, in spells, there's let you reroll casting, but there's a few things to the priest is now that let you reroll. I think, maybe.
I'm also pretty sure. I don't know exactly where the wording's. Yeah, so now the core rules have said that each prayer can only chant 1 prayer that they know in their hero phase. So that's
each priest can only chant 1 prayer.
In addition, they can, and then so that limits what. I mean, again, it depends on FAQs. Obviously, at the moment, War Scrolls override with the core rulebook. But it looks like they are going down the route of priests only doing 1 prayer and then 1.
Excuse me while I just check the War Scroll.
I think, like, apart from some priests that I think like more powerful ones that could cast multiple, I think 1 sounds fair.
Yeah,
maybe like I don't know, a priest on a bloody war.
I don't like the miscast on the priest. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
So just to say with that, Nathan is saying that will I personally keep, and to you too as well, keep playing 2,000-point games, or will the 1,500-point get more uptake? So me personally, I'm going to probably play more narrative games. Talking more like match play games, I would be playing 2,000 points because with an overall like point increase for a lot of armies going up, it's going to. If I play 1,500 points, the amount of toys I'd be able to bring to a game would be dramatically less. So I'll still be playing 2,000 points. If anything, maybe the other way going up, like 250 or something. But so that's my thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah,
go
I think so.
2K
is the nice balance.
The game's designed to play at 2K. It just works best.
Exactly. And then, so that's our thoughts on that, Nathan. And then Henry is saying, priests miscast, God says no. And then Leon has replied to that and basically saying if you pray to Gork and then you get a very angry response saying I'm Mork. So that is pretty much how it works. Obviously you should only pray to Nagash. I mean, pretty standard. But so and then Henry said it was a classic mistake. So I think that's pretty much fine. We've done monsters, we've done war scrolls, we've done that, we've done that. We've done that. Oh no. Yeah, we've done that. Reinforced units. We've talked about that. Points values. We know. Battlefield roles. We know. Battlefield roles become more important with battalions, or they're given different names for that, haven't they? Right. So.
Yeah. They're specifically for within the battalions. Yeah, nothing worse.
That's got a lot of this stuff is like just core rules that have stayed the same. Again, if you're watching this and there's like one word that has changed, let me know and let me know in the comments and I'll respond to it. Battalion ability. Okay, so is this important though? Because obviously how battalions have changed. Do we think this is probably worth reading out?
I think we've kind of covered this, or you did in your video with Ben.
Okay, so question with battalions: can you still use battalions from your battle tome and the core battalions?
In what? Match play?
Yes.
No.
Why? Does it say it here?
Somewhere, yes.
I think it says in the match play section. I'm not sure it's available.
Which I don't actually think is in this set of core rules. I've seen it in the
What was they promised? Okay, so
also, sorry, just going back to section 25. I think it needs an FAQ, but it does say during a battle, if a unit at its maximum unit size or if a unit is at its maximum unit size, no further models can be added to it, and any that would be added to it are removed from play. So something like zombies, which in theory could go above their max unit size. I don't think
with
they
pink
now
horrors.
can. Pink horrors have something. Oh, that's a bit of a weird one because pinks, blues, and brims are different units.
Yeah, but you can add more pinks with the banner and stuff, can't you?
You can only go back to so pinks are different to the other chaos demons. The other three chaos demons can go above their original unit size, while pinks could only ever go back to their original unit size because that would be dumb. Dumber.
Yeah.
But yeah, potentially something there.
Yeah, no, that's good to point out. And then the battalion. So yeah, we'll see that. Like if there's not a match play, we'll cover that when we get it.
And then we got down in battalions. We got 1-drop deployment, which is a nice change. So now if something is 1-drop, you have to place it all in 1-drop.
Yeah.
Whereas in 2.0, you could kind of split it up as you saw fit.
Yeah, the match play section is not in.
No.
So sorry, what did you say about the 1-drop of battalion?
So the 1-drop battalion, you now have, when you're deploying your battalion, you have to place all of the models down as 1-drop. Whereas obviously previously, if that battalion, you could like separate up.
Yeah, you could go like, I don't know, let's say your opponent's got
2 and 2 or whatever, yeah.
And if you dropped all yours separately, you could go, okay, I'm just going to play the game where I'm just one ahead of you all the time. Cool, that's good. Does that mean if like you're very new to the game, like very new to 3rd edition, still learning the rules, and your opponent's got a 1-drop battalion, and they ask you how many drops you've got, and you say you've got 5, that's fine. They put one model down, and then they say it's your go. Too late, you can't go back, can't deploy it all. I get to go first, blah, blah, blah. Just bear in mind not to do that. Right, so the core battalions, we've already been through all this. What's your favourite one? Have you got an idea? What's your favourite?
Ooh,
Warlord.
Warlord sounds... is Warlord like the easiest one to pull off? Or is it Battle Regiment?
Not necessarily the easiest. Like, the easiest is probably Vanguard.
Well, true.
Yeah.
But the two you're realistically going to see are Warlord and Battle Regiment. The other, you might get a Command Entourage snuck in. Maybe if you have some units left over, you might get a Vanguard, but realistically, it's Warlord and Battle Regiment.
How often do you think you're going to see multiple battalions?
There's no reason not to. If you've got the units in your list to do it, why wouldn't you?
And you can't overlap units into different battalions.
No. So like each unit has to go within like only one unit. Yeah, that unit can only be in one battalion. But if you've got leftovers, why not make it squeeze into another one?
And do they have points for them here?
No points. They're not pointed. They're free.
Oh, okay. So they're definitely if you can build it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
So as a general, we will see a lower drop game because most people will be taking that 1-drop battalion, the Battle Regiment, because why not?
Yeah, that's true. And if you've got like something like a couple other things left over that fit in the Vanguard, just chuck it in that. So yeah, that works. Just to read the chat, Leon saying yes, they took my 3+ skeleton move away. Is that from the Death March battalion? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I wanted to like that so much, but it never really works out for me. So you won't be missing too much on that. Dia saying it would be really thematic if prayers towards Slanesh miscast on a 1 and 2s since they are sporadic with these favors. I mean, I think with Slanesh personally, can't miscast them. They haven't got any priests, have they?
The War Shrine could pray to Slanesh.
Oh, that's true. I think the War Shrine for Slanesh should never fail. That's personally my thoughts. Neil said, I hope if Rafi's points will go up, she will then get access to all the Law Shadow spells like Alariel got with her new update, to all the Sylvaneth deeper ones, compensation. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I think Marafi is very good.
All I've got to say is I'm glad he put the winky face at the end because he's 100% joking.
Yeah, because Marathi...
Marathi 660... Marathi should probably have been... So assuming what I've been told is right, and Marathi is 660 in AOS 3. That's how many points you should be in 2.0 before you get hero and monster reactions and other general price increases. Like, she should probably be 700, if I'm being honest. As a fervent doc player, she should probably be like 660 is a steal.
It's good. And what I was going to say, how many points are you currently at the moment, second edition?
600.
Okay, yeah. Okay, and then Andrew is saying, I like the Warlord of the extra enchantment. It's something we're going to go to in a minute. Enchantment. And then Delta is saying, if a unit of my army is in a battalion, which I may pay points for, can it still go in one of those battalions?
So, so in theory and narrative, you don't have points. So, like, the only time you're taking the named battalions is when you're doing a narrative game, in which case points don't exist.
Yeah.
So it's kind of something that you then start to just figure out with your opponent because you're doing what you fancy. But my answer would be a unit could only ever go in one battalion.
Yeah, agreed. That would make sense to me. Leon is saying, why is Warlord and Command Entourage have the same abilities, but in Command Entourage there is a slash between the abilities? Can it only pick one? So
correct. Yeah, it's one or the other, while Warlord is you get both. Because the Command Entourage is easier to achieve in theory, but it's actually one unit difference.
Yeah.
So you're always taking the Warlord over the Command Entourage.
There we go. And then we have Nathan saying, can the Sons of Behemoth make the Linebreaker battalion? Yes, they can. Yeah, because the leader is the big giant, and then the monsters are either big giants or normal man-eaters or man-crushers, whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, that's fine. Going on to here, I want to talk about enchantments, because that's a new word they've said, isn't it? So
artifacts.
It's complicated. It's unnecessary. Like, I don't know. They just worded it weirdly.
From what I understand, it's like, when you have an army, don't have any battalions, your army is flesh-eater courts. Let's say you're not going for a sub-allegiance. You get access to one command trait you can choose from, one artifact you can choose from, one mount trait you can choose from. Let's just say that. So that's like 3 things.
I think it works better for something like cities where you're going to have a lot more characters, and you weren't necessarily taking battalions before, but you're going to take battalions now, so you'd have access to more.
Yeah, so I'll read it out.
Artifacts and stuff.
So each set of allegiance abilities includes a number of enchantments that are given to specific units in an army. Enchantments are divided into command traits, artifacts of power, spell laws, prayer, ascriptions, mount traits, triumphs, and one or more sets of unique enchantments. Enchantments are picked after you have chosen the battalions for your army. You can always take one enchantment of each type for your army, and the battalion or battle pack you are using may allow you to take additional enchantments. So the one there's one of them, isn't there? Which is the Magnificence, which you get for being Command Entourage or Warlord. So basically, then you can pick to have either another mount trait and other artifact. Is that right? You don't get one of everything again.
No, yeah, exactly. So basically, the easiest way I've found to explain it, is as standard, you get one of each of the above. So you get one command trait. Those are your enhancements. When you have access to an extra enhancement, which you get as a result of a battalion, you can either take one extra artifact, you can take the extra spell law enhancement. The extra spell law enhancement is really interesting because that means every wizard in your army knows one extra spell. You can also take one extra triumph if you want, if you're really aiming for those triumphs. But realistically, you're either going to be going for the extra artifact, or you're going to be going for all your wizards knowing one extra spell.
So when it's saying you're getting one basic with every army, does that mean, is that affecting the ones you take from your battle tome?
So it's not it's not in addition to the battle tomes. So like as a standard army, you have one command trait, one artifact of power, and you have got each wizard knowing one spell from any laws that they know, just as like you do now.
This this is only important if, like, as far as we're aware, it's only important if you're taking a warlord or a command entourage.
Which most of the time I think you will be.
Yeah. So the rule will come into it. Enchantment restrictions. Enchantments cannot be given to unique units or allied units unless noted. In addition, artifacts of power and command traits that affect attacks made by friendly models do not have effect attacks made by their mounts unless noted otherwise. So kind of what we're used to with command traits and artifacts.
Yep.
So when it means unless otherwise, is that like with cities where if you had a Stormcast hero in your thing, it that's not named, he is part of the city's army because you've got the city's keyword, therefore you'd be able to give it to him.
Still not an ally though, he's part of the army.
Yeah, so he's not an ally. Oh yeah. No, he's not even an ally. So yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. I think it's like it's. I don't know of any times where it's particularly impactful. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird. I think it's more covering their back.
Yeah, and then so Leon is saying every time I hear sob, I think it's just the battle. My brain always breaks. Presumably, depending on where you go out in the world, there's probably some Sisters of Battle that look like the Sisters of Battle of AOS. And then D is saying, I'm interested to see if the Shrine of Slanesh will also allow you to sacrifice enchantments. I think I'll just stick to artifacts. As far as I'm aware, because otherwise you could sacrifice command traits and stuff. Artifacts of power, spell laws, prayer, sculptures, triumphs, unique. Stuff like that's all the same.
Yeah, it's worth noting though that the
healing prayer. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, the healing prayer. Yeah, stacked with the hero phase healing, it's pretty good. But yeah, it's worth noting we know what the Cogs War Scroll is, and it's +1 cast for every wizard in the army. When you've got that and you've got the extra spell law enhancement, like you can make some really, really good spell casting lists, which is definitely going to be something that we'll see more of.
What did you say? The Cogs?
That?
Oh, the Cogs. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, because we've seen that War Scroll.
Yeah, that's true. It'd be interesting to see others.
Also, the other interesting thing, triumphs have changed.
Okay.
So you no longer roll for them, and so you pick one at the list building phase or stage, and the triumphs have completely changed. So the triumphs now are once per game +1 to wound, once per game inspiring presence after you've rolled, and once per game reroll charges.
Yeah.
But with no hero ranges needed.
Yeah.
So whilst you're writing your list, if your list is under 2,000 points, you just take a triumph.
Yeah, I mean, no. So like with the triumphs, you still have to be less points than your opponent.
Okay.
But you have to say what it is before. But I really like the triumphs changes. I've got a mate who played Fire Slayers, and he ran pole axes on both his units of Hearthguard, which basically 6s to hit, do 2 mortal wounds. And his list was 1940, 1930, basically because he wanted that triumph. And if he rolled a 1 or a 2 when rolling for reroll hits, he won the game.
Yeah.
Because he just used it and double activating, rerolling, fishing for 6s. He'd just blow up everything. And it was disgusting. So yeah,
you can't get yourself ones to hit with the
and ultimately those triumphs with the old triumphs were dumb. It was like reroll saves is something you would pay, I don't know, if you were offered that as a thing, 60, 70, 100 points for. Like you take a Chaos Sorcerer Lord almost exclusively for that sometimes, and yet I'm 10 points cheaper than you. I get that.
Yeah.
Like they were so impactful, and it was dumb. So less impactful. I like it.
Agreed. I think that's good. Okay.
And finally, it's just talking about battle packs, which is the new word for like battle plans, basically.
Okay. What the universal one? Oh, sorry. So,
the universal enhancements are definitely.
Oh, sorry. You're higher up than I was. Sorry.
So, universal enchantments. So, what are these all about? Then the following enchantments can be used by any army.
Yeah, so basically
you've got the ones in your book, and then you can get these ones instead.
Yeah, so like these replace realm artifacts, for example. It would appear the artifacts.
Okay, that's cool. So it looks like there's more choice. Obviously, so you've got battle. Okay, so there's a lot to go through here. But you can go. So we're not going to review all of these. All I want to say is that unless there's any that you can pick out, that there may be something here useful that you do not have in your battle, something that you might be missing that you can take. And because, like you say, battalions are free, those core battalions, from what we can see, the two like common ones that you will be taking that will give you a enchantments. That means you'll have, if you're used to an army that probably most of the armies I play, where you don't play battalions, you're not used to being able to give yourself that second artifact, particularly if you go for a sub-allegiance. So get used to being able to pick basically a second artifact. So having that extra choice rather than just going, this is the one that my, I don't know, Grand Court or the Flesh-Eater Courts gives me, I'm not looking at taking anymore, as an example. Is there anything?
Yeah, I think so. The artifact that's really worth talking about is the one that gives the bearer a 5-up ward save. That's awesome. You know, put that on a Maw Crusher, and he's suddenly got a 5-up Mortal Wound Shrug. Put
What's
it on
the name of that? Oh, okay, yeah, the
Amulet of Destiny. You know, put it on a Free Guild General on Griffin, like makes him survivable. Like there's loads and loads of big hero monsters in the game which just die to mortal wounds, and that makes them really difficult to take. And this is huge. Yeah. I think I'm talking to a few mates, like, you know, I've got one mate who's runs Gargants, and he's like, I'm putting that on my Gargant.
Yeah,
because I think one of the command traits or something allows you to take 2 artifacts in the Taker tribe. I don't know. It's Gargant. I'm not interested. But yeah, any big hero monster which doesn't have a Mortal Wound Shrug, that's just amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I would like I said, we won't read through it. There's not too many.
The other very funny one is the Arcane Tome. It means that your Bloodthirster can now be a wizard, which is kind of ironic.
Very, very Khorne-like. Khorne won't be too upset.
The spell lords are very interesting.
Oh my god, that means you can put Arcane Bolt onto your Bloodthirster. So he's going to charge in and throw that out.
I mean, what I will say is that this probably isn't the best one, but like one that I like the look of is just called Flaming Weapon. Cast on a 4, +1 damage to one of your melee weapons that's not used by me.
Put that on a vampire, put that on a vampire lord on zombie dragons. Suddenly, he's 5 damage on the charge.
Yeah.
Very
nice.
I know Slaanesh players are loving it on an Exalted Chariot, which has got like 8 attacks.
Because the other thing to note, like obviously all the or that we just read and you can't do that. But I'm just thinking that the enhancements, the enchantments, you can put the spell lore ones onto named characters because they can take from a spell lore. So they do. So some of them do like. So if you're looking at like, I'd love to give it to Nagash +1 damage.
Jacq.l with 20 attacks. As Zook just said.
Yeah.
Flaming weapon.
Although, do they count as a mount?
No, because it's
the swarm of spermlings. Do they? No, they're probably not. No. I think
I'll have a quick look, but I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of things you could dive into there, which is cool. I wonder if it's like the old artifact from the realms where it was like there's just some winners and some you don't.
Like, honestly, I think they've done a much better job of balancing these. You know, like you had the Plate of Perfect Protection and maybe the Rage Blade, but everything else was not worth the paper it was written on. Like all of these command traits and artifacts are like fine, like, you know, definitely takeable. So yeah. I'll also just shout out the Ghost Mist spell, which basically is a line of sight blocking spell on a bit of terrain until your next hero phase. You know, they make that little 5-wound hero or like caster a whole lot less squishy.
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially like, I don't know, that's squishy caster, but he might be able to cast like 2 or 3 spells, let's just say. So you could use it as just like one of his spells.
Yeah, especially if you just sit him right in the middle of that terrain, so he's in cover, and then just cast that spell out, and now he's just... It's like the pitch black rule for despoilers and slaves.
Yeah, definitely. And then Zoo is saying that suddenly Jacq.l with 20 attacks. Yeah, exactly what we're talking about. Battle packs, is this important? Because it just sounds like the terrain stuff.
It's terrain. It's how battle plans work. It literally just talks.
Basically, they've removed one. Yeah, they've removed one of the tables from terrain. Cool.
Yeah, they've got
they've
rid of
changed
the
damned.
first original table. Like,
Yeah,
nice.
exactly. Well, damned has changed. It's now add 1 to hit rolls, not re-roll hit rolls, because GW are trying to get rid of re-rolls, which I'm down with, because re-rolls take time, and we don't have time for that. But yeah, other than that, no, that's it.
Mystical's changed.
That's it.
Because it used to
Chanting
be that.
and banishment rolls.
No, it's still just a 6-up ward, isn't it? Oh, and add 1 to chanting and banishment rolls. Okay, yeah, nice.
So that's been
Something
given.
is used for my daughter's pain.
Yeah.
It's been given the nullification.
No,
That's
because
been rolled in, hasn't it?
No, because the that was if endless spells ended within an inch of it, then they were dispelled immediately.
Yeah.
Whereas this is specifically for prayers. So basically, if you are chanting a prayer or attempting to banish an invocation, then you get +1 to that.
Yeah.
So it's like Arcane, but for prayers. And you get a 6-up for your no pain from it.
Oh, stick. Yeah, that's going to be nice.
Yeah, that's actually quite nice. I had missed that. That's cool. But yeah.
And then, just a rule index, which
Yeah,
is nice to see. And the army roster at the bottom, which is nice and printable.
I thought for a second, I thought you meant something like, I don't know why, but I thought you meant like the point value. I was like, okay.
That would be ridiculous.
In another video. Cool. And so that is the core rules. We didn't read all of them word for word, but that's just because we don't want to repeat ourselves, because number one, we have read out a lot of those rules already in the last week, because they've been showing them to us. A lot of those new ones, but also the other ones we already knew about. And if you didn't go check out my How to Play Warhammer Age Sigmar series, basically is my answer to that one. So I'm going to do my outro now. So I'm going to end the video. But before I do, while I'm doing it, put any last questions or anything like that you've got in the chat, so I won't miss it before I end the live stream. And I can see that Leon has put a message in saying maybe a dumb question, but Mega Gargants are heroes. If I ally one to my Gravelords, can I give it one of the universal enchantments like the book or the 5+? No, because it is a ally/mercenary.
Yeah, so they aren't actually allies, they're mercenaries, and they become named when they're mercenaried in. So because they're a named character, they couldn't. But also, allies couldn't, and mercenaries couldn't. So all around, unfortunately, not.
Exactly. That makes sense. So, guys, let me know in the comments of this video as well what you thought about all these changes that we have just covered in this video. For sure, if you enjoy this video, please give it a like. Smash that like button for me, would be absolutely amazing. And if you could as well, if you haven't already, make sure you smash the subscribe button. Makes a huge difference. And smash the bell notification as well. By liking the video, shows to me that you enjoy this sort of content, so I make more of it. Helps out on YouTube, because YouTube sees people liking this video and they help recommend it to people who don't know about the channel. And by subscribing to the channel, it's how the channel grows at the end of the day. And by smashing the bell notification means you never miss one of my future videos, of course. And then if you feel like you know someone who would enjoy this video, make sure you share it with them. And then, as I always get pointed out, that I should say, make sure to join the Discord, where we have a link to in the chat of the description of this video. You'll find a link to my Discord. You click it. We've got, I don't know, 280 people in it now. A couple of the moderators are in this video with us, like I said, Luke and Alex. And it's a buzzing community. Those people asking questions about, obviously, AOS and new people, and also talking about the new rules coming out and the new edition, painting, tactics, list building, everything. If you would like to join that, click the link down below. What I'd like to say as well is also a massive, massive shout out, as always, to my patrons and YouTube members. So again, I've got the article at the moment, so I can't get the names on the screen, but I definitely will be reading them out and giving them a shout out. What I will say though is, anyone, if you want to support the channel that step further, please click the join button next to the subscribe button. It will allow you to become a member here in Age Nagash, where you can give anything from just £1 a month, and it goes straight towards the channel, keeps it going. Or if you'd like to support my Patreon, there is a link to it at the top of the description down below. Click that link, take you to my Patreon, give anything for just $1 a month. And what I will say with that, as I always say, is that, you know, for me, if YouTube was a business or something, you make a loss every month, everything like that, the amount of time, effort, and money and stuff put into it. But what these people show me is, if they're willing to support me on this much of a personal level, it justifies everything I put into this channel. So if it wasn't for these YouTube members and patrons, you wouldn't be watching this video today. So if you'd like to become one of these amazing people, even by just, like I say, £1 or $1 a month, it goes a huge way to keeping the channel going if you do enjoy the content. So that would be amazing. But the people who have already made that fantastic decision are going to be, like I say, my patrons, YouTube members, who, starting with my biggest support, it's going to be Filq, because he is my one and only vampire lord on a zombie dragon. It basically is a massive, huge support and contribution he gives to the channel every month. So that's really, really kind of you. Thank you for keeping up, and it really does make a huge difference, Filq. So thank you so much for that. And then my Morgasts, who is Bleed Red. So thank you so much, Bleed Red, for being a Morgast such a long time now. Again, it makes a big difference. And then my vampires, who are the core of my supporters, are going to be Mir, Stence, Rouse321, David A, Dragoonity, Ronni H, Darren L, SpareBear, Christopher H, Northdrop, Nathan F, Andrew G, Ben C, Wiggy Whooty, and Anthony R. Thank you all so much for giving me support, because again, at that tier, it's a very generous support you're giving as well. So thank you so much for that. And my Necromancers, who is Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, AW77, Dice Sagas, WolfNick, Michal W, Cranky Wombat, Madcap, Krista C, Krista F, James S, Thomas B, Steve T, James T, Patrick F, JJ, R Christopher, and Sception. Thank you all so much for allowing me to keep this up and help get people into our fantastic hobby of Warhammer, and in particularly Warhammer Age Sigmar, and to continue their Warhammer Age Sigmar journeys with all the videos I do, as I want to spread the community that we all love and enjoy at the end of the day. And then just to say a special shout out to Nathan again, who, while we were live and doing this, who became a YouTube member. So thank you so much to Nathan for leading a great example on how the best way you can to support the channel. So if you can click the join button support, that'd be great, or click the link to the Patreon, that'd be amazing. But if you can't do that, no worries at all. All I'm really happy is that you came and checked out this video today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you could, though, if you did, make sure you like, subscribe, and smash that bell notification. Not gonna lie to you, absolutely free. You can do it in a fraction of a second. And if you do enjoy the content, it's absolutely the least thing you can do, and all I'd ask of you. But above that, I want to say a massive thank you as well to my two guests, who are going to be Luke and Alex. Thank you so much for joining me, which is a video which I did not specify the time, but I said it would be a long one. So I think I am pretty much right on that. I think this is as long as the Why Play Soul Black Graveblog video. So guys, thank you very much for joining me and giving up your evening to talk about text.
It's only about 20 minutes over what I thought it would be, so we're about on time.
There are a lot of rules to get through.
Yeah.
But anyone who's joined before or after I said it at the start, where I said we're not looking at the Gloomspite stuff, it's just because these guys have already looked at it. There's nothing new. If anything, they got the rules wrong. So that's why we haven't mentioned it. But as it was like kind of like in the thumbnail and the title of this video, thought I'd let you guys know that it's not, I don't know, clickbait or something, because that is not most certainly not the case. But anyway, like I say, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe button, bell notification. Remember, until next time, to stay safe, stay hygienic. Make sure you wear a mask. For God's sake, wash your hands, because if your hands are all clean and washed, unless you're playing Nurgle or Sinesh, that means that your dice will roll better, which is certainly you're going to need for that new rally ability. But above anything else, remember, until next time, that Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.